Catch me if I fall.
Ambassador for Manchester City, Mike Summerby. They're going down the line first of all. They've met the Arsenal players standing to the left. Now the match officials, Stuart Atwell, the referee, Michael Salisbury, VAR, John Brooks, the fourth official. Now on to the Manchester City players. And then, as you say, it will be the national anthem with Lily Day-Scott performing that.
Yeah, I've been sold the first dummy of the new Premier League season. We've just been talking about Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola. Arteta dressed all in black and grey on the end of the Arsenal lineup there, and Pep Guardiola, who said this week he might think about extending his Manchester City contract that little bit further, in his white shirt and grey trousers, looking far more relaxed and dressed down as Pep Guardiola likes to do. Right, we're almost ready then for kick-off here at Wembley Stadium, which is filled up absolutely beautifully. Great attendance for this final. In the early stages, it certainly sounded like the Arsenal fans were very, very much up for this, but I'm sure when kick-off arrives, we will hear Manchester City loud and proud as well. The Premier League winners, the FA Cup winners, the treble winners against Arsenal, and that follows the national anthem this time, I promise. First opportunity to see Arsenal and Manchester City in competitive action this season. Your commentary team with us here inside Wembley Stadium: Craig Shakespeare, Dion Dublin, and our senior football reporter Ian Dennis.
Thank you, Steve. It's the day that we never thought would arrive. I'm not talking about the long wait for the club season to get back underway, but the sun is shining in North London. Summer does exist after all. As for the game, well, we're hoping for it to be a bit of a cracker between these two sides who obviously pushed each other all the way before Manchester City went on to claim the Premier League crown on what was a very successful season winning the treble. 4 debuts in today's starting lineups. These are the two teams as Manchester City in their sky blue shirts and white shorts just form a team photo as that red carpet is being gathered up by the ground staff here at Wembley in the sun. Ortega's in goal, back four Walker, Diaz and Akanji. Stones and Rodri to sit in front with Bernardo Silva, Julian Alvarez, Kovacic on his City debut, Jack Grealish behind Erling Haaland. Arsenal in their red and white shirts and white shorts have Ramsdale in goal. A back four of Ben White, Gabriel, William Saliba, Jurriën Timber. We're expecting at left back, but they will probably alternate as the game goes on. Declan Rice, the club record signing in the midfield, along with Thomas Partey and Martin Ødegaard, Gabriel Martinelli, Kai Havertz on his debut, and Bukayo Saka. There was an element of a doubt over Saka. He had been suffering with a little bit of an illness during the week, but he is fit enough to start. And it should, Dion Dublin, be a very entertaining game.
Yeah, it should be, and I can't see either of these sides sitting back and waiting to see what happens by the opponents. This is going to be a game that both teams go for. Arsenal want to win it just to get one over on City. They've had more football in the legs as well than City, so interesting game, really important game for the players, this one. Very important game for the players.
What do you think, Craig?
Yeah, I agree. I think in terms of Arsenal, really important game for them, and I know that's not taking anything away from Man City, but I do think Arsenal will want to put a marker down on this and show that they're here to stay.
Craig Shakespeare and Dion Dublin, who are with us here on BBC Radio 5 Live, and also it's always a pleasure to have the BBC World Service. You've had Delith and Sebastian Bassong in your build-up. So thank you for joining us here at Wembley Stadium for what is a glorious day with the sun shining and Manchester City playing from right to left in this first half against Arsenal in their red and white shirts, as Stuart Atwell, the referee, gets us underway. And straight away the ball goes back to Ramsdale. I don't think we're going to see a repeat of that electric start to the FA Cup final, where of course it was İlkay Gündoğan who scored after just 13 seconds. No, as we tick into 14 seconds, we're safe. I remember being at Wembley that particular day, and we were not even welcome the World Service to our coverage before City were leading by a 0-0. But that is indeed the end that they are attacking, the end away towards our left-hand side, as a near sellout here at Wembley Stadium for this traditional curtain raiser. The two best sides from last season are involved, and just like in 1999, Arsenal are the opponents for the treble winners, Manchester City, who will look to add to that growing collection of silverware under the tutelage of one of the managerial greats in Pep Guardiola. Stuart Atwell gives a free kick. The other thing, though, to bear in mind is that this is only City's fourth game in pre-season. Arsenal have played 5 matches.
Yeah, and I think Craig touched on it before the game. It might favour them. They might have a little bit more gas in their legs, you know. Sometimes it can work for you, sometimes it can work against you. I don't think it's going to be a problem for either of these sides together for this game.
That, though, from a coaching point of view, is the wider picture, isn't it? From a Manchester City point of view, the conditioning.
Yeah, I do think as you get to the 60, 70 minutes, and probably some of these players will already have their game time marked down. But as you see from the start, that Arsenal want to press really high and take the ball off Man City high up. You know, they're not sitting too far back. They're playing with a high line.
We were expecting Stones to play in that midfield role. At the minute, it looks like he's alongside Ruben Diaz. Rodri's just dropped in between. Akanji's more as a left-back on this near side, and Kyle Walker in his natural right-back position on that far side, as Saka leaves a little bit of a late challenge on Akanji. They go back to Ortega, all in green away towards our right-hand side, who chips the ball long, and then the header from Erling Haaland will be collected by Thomas Partey for Arsenal in that centre circle, and White just ushers the ball back to Aaron Ramsdale. The Arsenal fans, a lot of them bathed in sunshine away towards our left-hand side, are in terrific voice. As Mikel Arteta, would you believe, this is the 4th time that he's actually taken charge of Arsenal at the National Stadium, but it's the first time that he's actually taken charge in front of spectators. And the Arsenal fans are certainly making their presence felt in these early stages. BBC Radio 5 live in the World Service. We're also live on BBC Sounds as well, as Kovacic signed from Chelsea. Ruben Dias, Akanji on this near side, back to Ruben Dias. Ødegaard chases after Ruben Dias. Arsenal pressing, City beating that press very, very effectively actually. Akanji now on this side, holds off Ødegaard, who pulls at his arm, brings him to ground, and Stuart Atwell will give a free kick to Manchester City.
Yeah, that's good from Akanji. You know, they're just patient, City playing the ball around the back. Arsenal trying to choose the right time, when to go. Maybe just got that first squeeze when that first press goes and you're following behind. But City at the moment being able to beat it. They're only getting as far as the middle of the pitch at the moment because Arsenal are set up really well, really tight.
Do you think that's a yellow card next week?
I think it's a yellow card today.
Well, he obviously isn't because he's not pulled it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but there is that new directive, isn't there? They've been very keen to promote that, have the officials in the build-up to the season, but it was a deliberate foul that went unpunished. Stuart Atwell in this curtain raiser is the man in the middle, all in black, as Manchester City go back to Ruben Dias. By the way, I mentioned BBC Sounds. It'll be perfect for you for a little later on if you're interested in England's Netball World Cup final. That gets underway at 5 o'clock. Commentary on Sports Extra, but also, of course, in the morning, England's women in the last 16 of the Women's World Cup. Live coverage from 8 o'clock on BBC Radio 5 Live. The game live from 8:30, but all the build-up with Juliet Farrington. Spain and Japan booked their place in the last 8 yesterday. The Netherlands and Sweden in extremely dramatic fashion likewise today. But England-Nigeria live on 5 Live tomorrow morning, and we'll keep you fully in touch with the Netball World Cup final too from 5 o'clock. We're planning to take the last quarter here on BBC Radio 5 Live as Rodri searching diagonal ball out to the left hand side, taken well by Akanji, forward on this near side, down towards the byline, chips over the cross, flick header away, was an important one by White, clipped back in by Bernardo Silva on that right hand side towards Grealish, and then it's hooked clear by Saka for Arsenal. 0-0, 5 minutes played, but a vital intervention from White.
Yeah, done well there. Rodri just left it into that sort of left wing area in front of Akanji, and Akanji's first touch was lovely, and he just floated a lovely ball in. No City player could get on the end of it. That's a sign. They'll wait, and they'll just punish them.
Bernardo Silva provides the width, cutting forward now, enters the penalty area right side. He's got some support from Kyle Walker behind him. Walker now delivers the cross. That was blocked, comes back to Walker, plays the ball back behind him, and now it's an opportunity once again to try and deliver this cross from the right hand side. Back it goes with Walker once more. Rodri takes a touch and turns infield now to Stones, almost midway through the Arsenal half. Arsenal have everybody back behind the ball at the moment as Kovacic now takes it on. Kovacic tries to slip it through towards Haaland, doesn't come back towards Haaland, and it's cleared away by Gabriel for the Arsenal defence. But City were just starting to cause a few problems, Craig.
Yeah, you see with Akanji down the left, Grealish and Silva playing high and wide, but it was the first time Jack went inside, left the space, and Xhaka really didn't track him back, and I think that will be something we'll see as the game goes on, because Arsenal's structure is very much containment at the moment, and the movement from Akanji just caught them out.
Ball has been knocked out of play, and there's an object, I think, that up to... What was that on the far side? Is that a shin pad that's just been retrieved?
A boot. I think it might be a boot, I think. I'm not sure.
There's so many players at Arsenal who are wearing white boots. It's hard to tell which one, merging in with the white socks.
What? Yeah, it's a boot.
Remember when they played in the FA Cup in recent ties? They played Nottingham Forest and Oxford United, and they've worn literally the all white. I mean, that would have been a nightmare from a commentator's point of view to try and pick out the white numbers on the back of the white shirts. I can't even pick out who was bootless. But in fact, it was Jurien Timber, or Jurien Timber, as we're told that he wants to be pronounced, not Jurien Timber, the Dutch international, versatile, signed from Ajax for £34 million. As ball goes back to Ortega, Diaz sweeps it away downfield, and it's played away to Thomas Partey in the midfield, who loses out. Manchester City now can come forward with Alvarez takes it away from Partey, and there was a foul there. Referee gives a free kick. We'll quickly nip to Ellen Road in the Championship. John Bennett.
Leeds United 1, Cardiff City 2. It's all Leeds, but Cardiff are hanging on. Sinisterra's just had a penalty appeal turned down. Dan James found the back of the net, but it was disallowed. It was offside. Leeds 1, Cardiff 2.
You know, Craig, when you said, do you think that'll be a yellow card next week? Stuart Atwell has actually just booked Thomas Partey.
That's what drives you mad as a coach. You just want consistency, and if he gives a yellow card for the first one, you know you're getting one for the second. But the inconsistency, that was just disappoints you.
Incidentally, I don't think there's been a sending off since Pedro for Chelsea against Arsenal in 2017. But the yellow cards and the red cards do not carry forward into the start of the Premier League campaign next weekend, which of course you'll be able to hear live on BBC Radio 5 Live. More Premier League games than anybody else. There's a Premier League preview show with Kelly Cates on Wednesday evening, and then Brighton Luton is our first commentary, the usual goal service from 3. Newcastle United against Aston Villa at St James's Park at 5:30. Villa, who really have recruited well this summer and looking to build on what Unai Emery had achieved last season. And then Brentford Spurs and Chelsea Liverpool. So that's our opening games next weekend. But this is the Community Shield. It's 0-0. And Arsenal are attacking through Martinelli on that far side, the left, into the shadows, the west side of Wembley Stadium, where the Manchester City fans are housed. And every outfield player is indeed in the City half. It's with Gabriel in the centre circle. Ball played forward to Ødegaard, and then with White towards Saka. Saka now up against Akanji. Akanji shows him on the outside, and Saka will go on the outside and tries to beat him for pace, but Akanji recovers well and gets a challenge in, and the last touch is adjudged to have come off Saka. It'll be a goal kick, Dion Dublin.
Done well, Akanji did really well. Offered Saka the line, allowed him to go past him. His pace and his power, he just nudged it onto Saka's right foot. Got to be careful that you can't give Saka too much space to run into because he's quick.
I know the 5 Live Sport Digital team have been asking you about who your signing of the summer has been so far. If you were to look back at last season, you'd probably be saying Akanji.
Akanji did well, didn't he?
Because he really was a super buy. Let's get an update in the Rugby League. Salford, Dave Woods.
51 minutes played. It's Salford 15, St Helens 8. Matty Lees has just scored for St Helens, who are off colour today, but they're back in the contest. Untied in the build-up, but he touched it down. Percival's kicked the goal. It's Salford 15, St Helens 8.
Thanks, Dave. It was a lot cheaper as well than what they've just gone and purchased from their last buy in Germany. £16.7 million from Borussia Dortmund. And I'm talking about Josko Gvardiol, signed for £77 million from Leipzig, the Croatian, that really will strengthen the Manchester City cause as they look to defend their 3 trophies as part of that successful treble-winning season last season. Here is City in possession over on that far side with Kyle Walker, back in field to John Stones, right of the centre circle, now towards Diaz. Akanji waits on this near side, challenged by Saka. Akanji holds him off and plays the ball back to Ruben Diaz, but he's gone midway through his own half. It's a nice gentle pace, still goalless here in the sunshine. 11 minutes played on BBC Radio 5 Live. Ruben Diaz will give it back to Rodri, who scored that only goal, the winning goal in the Champions League final against Inter in Istanbul. Kovacic, signed from Chelsea. Rodri opens it up out towards Walker on that far side, over the halfway line. Bernardo Silva, Alvarez, Haaland, Grealish provides the width on this near side, the left. It goes back towards Rodri. Walker's made the run on that far side. In fact, they've also got Bernardo Silva, who was holding the width and now coming in as he chests the ball in front of him. Right hand side of the penalty area, plays it back. Walker plays it in low, first time. Ødegaard will clear inside his penalty area. Just didn't have the elevation from that clearance. Martinelli is after it. How quickly Kyle Walker is back. You can see why they don't want to lose Kyle Walker with the interest from Bayern Munich. Such a late stage, but what is he? 33 years of age, and he's still as quick as ever.
Yeah, he's got down that right hand side. He's so comfortable. He's happy to get forward because he knows he can get back. And the thing about it as well, and Craig will tell you the same thing, Ian, is that players that are playing against him are thinking, right, I can't run him, so I'll just have to play in front of him. He's won half the game already.
I think he gives Man City so many options in terms of he can play in the 3, can play higher up, his pace. He's a great 1v1 defender, and if you've got an opposition who's got a threat, so Martinelli today, he can nullify that because there's no one better than Kyle Walker at doing that.
And you certainly wouldn't want to be losing anybody really at this stage, would you?
No, and especially Walker to Bayern.
Well, they are blessed in the fact that they've got a little bit more security than they had in the Gundogan situation, who was out of contract. Kyle Walker is under contract until 2024. Bernardo Silva is the other one who I think they'll be desperate to keep hold of. He's under contract until 2025. Still no goals in this Community Shield. BBC Radio 5 Live, also live on BBC Sounds and the World Service. Ortega, very experienced German goalkeeper, his 15th appearance for the club. Did well when deputised for Edison last season, who's on the bench. Now it's with Rodri, right to the centre circle, over the halfway line he comes. Plays the ball out to Grealish. Grealish has to leap in the air, but does keep the ball in play. Waits for it to settle. Inside to Kovacic. Midway through the Arsenal half. Tries to slide it into the path of Alvarez. Loose ball given away. Straight to Haaland. Touch it back to Alvarez. Shooting opportunity for Rodri. Whistle just wide. Took a deflection. That might have been telling. It was right-footed. It was low. It's gone behind for a corner kick. 0-0.
Yeah, Declan Rice straight out to Rodri. Rodri set himself. His first touch was lovely. He had back to goal. He turned on his right foot. The ball was in the D, edge of the box, and Rice, seeing the danger, straight out to him. Got enough on it just to steer it out for a corner.
Wasn't that far away, I can tell you. It was a bit of spin on it as well. It was actually going back towards goal. Probably a matter of inches wide as Grealish with the corner kick fires this one on from this near side the left. Arsenal have every red and white shirt back inside that penalty area. Walker though will chip it. Stones has stayed forward in that penalty area. Arsenal clear the ball away. Bernardo Silva and Rodri, and then it's quickly worked back out, and it's John Stones popping up on that right hand side for Manchester City. Bernardo Silva provides a little bit more support back inside to Rodri, and Manchester City are seeing a lot of the ball. But 15 minutes in here at Wembley Stadium, and it remains 0-0. Rodri, Kovacic, slick passing from the Premier League champions. Pep Guardiola watching on, hands on hips, looking very casual as he always does. His white shirt matching his white pumps and his casual dark trousers in that technical area. Mikel Arteta, all in black, matching his jet black hair in that technical area. And by his standards, he's a little subdued, not as animated as sometimes you can see him on the side of the pitch, as he now puts his hands behind his back and just watches on. But Manchester City keeping the ball very, very well at this stage. Here now is Ruben Dias, midway through the Arsenal half, inside to Kovacic. Croatian international, holds off Ødegaard, leaves it for Rodri, strides forward. 24 yards out from goal, ships it out towards Akanji. Grealish on this near side the left, back with Akanji once more. And now it's with Dias, cross to Stones, just outside the centre circle in the Arsenal half. And Ruben Dias with Rodri. Again, Bernardo Silva was looking to try and make that run over on that far side. Here is Akanji. They're having to be patient here at Manchester City, just waiting for that one opportunity, Craig.
Yeah, I think the game's at the moment taking the toll of it's quite slow, isn't it, in terms of its pace. You see the structure of Arsenal, very much a back four intact with Partey in front, who stops the supply to Haaland. He's the screener, so they're not letting them play balls into Haaland and play off. Man City, as we knew, possession based, and as you say, with Arsenal, attack with 5 and defend with 5.
Well, they've just gone and lost at Manchester City, and then Havertz, as they tried to get a counter-attack, was bundled to the floor inside the centre circle. And you know, earlier on you talked about consistency. Well, the Arsenal players now are actually saying, well, where's the yellow card for that? Because Partey was earlier booked.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing for managers, coaches, and obviously now Stuart's coming over to have a word with the bench, I think, because maybe someone said something out of turn.
It was a clear foul, wasn't it? Rodri pulled back of the shirt, and in fact Stuart Atwell has come across and Mikel Arteta has been shown a yellow card. Well, we got told there would be a robust approach this season from the officials. They're not going to tolerate any dissent, whether it be from the technical area or on the pitch. But Mikel Arteta's frustration will be, in fact, he was calling for a yellow card. He was waving his hand around. And Mikel Arteta, who, as we know, can get animated, has been shown a yellow.
Yeah, it was John Stones who sort of held onto the ball just a little bit too long, and it gave Arsenal a chance to get closer, get set in the press, and he lost it. His touch was too heavy, and that was it. Everything went wrong. Arsenal were out, and it was a clear pull back.
So 2 yellow cards, one to the Arsenal manager and the other one to Thomas Partey, as Manchester City still 0-0 here on BBC Radio 5 Live. 18 minutes played. Alvarez turns, shoots, got it out from his feet quite quickly, right-footed, but dragged it wide, Dion.
Yeah, I think City have obviously had most of the ball. They're trying to keep the ball in the centre of the pitch. They're trying to sort of Rice and Partey and Odegaard into the centre of the pitch, and then hopefully open up the wings and the wide areas for Jack Grealish and Akanji down the left-hand side. It's worked so far, no end products as yet, but Arsenal have just got to be careful in and around the final third.
Well, it's going to be Ramsdale who's going to take the goal kick. He's got options to play it short. In the end, he goes long. He slips as well after clearing it right-footed. Towering header away by Stones midway through the City half. Declan Rice leaps into the air, and then he had a rather awkward fall. See, the problem now is that the referee, at every decision now, the players are calling for yellow cards.
Yeah, but as you said, it's as long as you know at the start of it what the procedure is, and we were told 18 months ago last season that if you pull a shirt you get a yellow card, but Stuart never did that, so now the players are on it, which they would be, which is natural.
Do you think the referee's created pressure of his own making?
I think he has.
It's the voice of Craig Shakespeare. We also have Dion Dublin, who's with us here on BBC Radio 5 Live this afternoon, as we're approaching the 20th minute here in this Community Shield, where they had a number of grassroots football awards handed out today, and the experience. I noticed that Shelby Clark brought the match ball out and laid it on the plinth. There's a number of people who do great work in the community, and they're being celebrated today on a game that is also raising awareness for the Jeff Astle Foundation, and a great cause it is too, raising awareness about the impacts caused by concussion. Jeff Astle, who scored, of course, the winning goal in the 68 FA Cup final against Everton, but didn't play in the Community Shield that year, a little bit later that year, when Manchester City beat West Brom by 6-1. Anyway, back to the current day, and Arsenal are attacking. Martinelli far side, slips it on the inside. Timber still hasn't switched. He's going to offer a lot of versatility, is the Dutch international, on that left-hand side, but it's curbed by Manchester City, and Walker just in front of the byline, and deep inside his own half, up towards Haaland. Remember the Community Shield at Leicester last season. Haaland only had 16 touches. There was one newspaper who said it was the Haaland horror show. I think he had the last laugh after that, didn't he, with his record-breaking season. Don't jump to conclusions, I think, is the whatever happens today.
Not with Haaland anyway.
No.
Leave him alone, he'll get his 30, 35 goals this season.
I was going to say, the only conclusion it's fair to assume is that he's going to score goals and more goals.
Absolutely. I just seen a little bit of Kai Havertz there. It's a part of Kai Havertz I haven't seen, fighting to hold on to the ball. The ball's in the air, it's coming to him, he's got John Stones behind him, he's fighting him, he holds it up, he's secure for his team. That's what he needs to do.
Up towards Haaland, the touch takes it away from Saliba, but he was helped out by Partey, who runs it clear of the penalty area towards Saka. Hardly mentioned Havertz though until you just did.
Yeah, because we haven't really seen him. He's just been defending. He's been part of the press. Same with Martinelli and Saka. To be honest with you, they've not had the ball at all.
I think there's quite a few players we haven't mentioned. A lot of Alvarez, who I haven't seen running behind yet and stretch Arsenal's back line. With Grealish, he's just played everything safe. I want him to go 1v1. So it's a very cagey game at the moment.
It is. It's 0-0, and it's going to be a free kick to Arsenal, as Rice will take it and plays it to Saliba. He really was such a bad miss for them towards the end of the season. 12 clean sheets in 27 games, and then only 2 in 11 without him when he was out with the injury. Of course, his season ended early back in March because of a back injury. We're going to go back to John Bennett, Leeds United.
Yeah, Leeds United throwing everything forward. Leeds United 1, Cardiff City 2. Pervaders on, Gelhardt is on. For all their possession, for all their dominance, though, struggling to create clear-cut chances. We have got 6 minutes of added time here. Leeds United 1, Cardiff City 2.
And St Mirren are still leading at Easter Road in the Scottish Premiership. Hibs 0, St Mirren 2. What's the latest in the Rugby League at Salford, Dave Woods?
17 minutes left to play. It's Salford 15, St Helens 14. Tommy Makinson's just scored in the corner on the back of what must have been 10 minutes of solid pressure on the Salford line. Saints have finally got over. Game on. Salford 15, St Helens 14.
It remains 0-0 here at Wembley. Stones forward on that far side, the right. Manchester City in their sky blue shirts and white shorts, playing from right to left. Now they switch it to Akanji on this near side, back towards Grealish, tries to get away from Ødegaard. Ødegaard tried to pull him back, but he escaped the attentions of the Norwegian, who still pursued him, chased after him, but Manchester City still have the ball as a Red Admiral butterfly is just fluttering away in front of our commentary position as Haaland is bundled to the floor, and now it's with Partey, and then Haaland quickly came back and fouled Thomas Partey, and that'll be a free kick to Arsenal. Haven't had too many chances to get excited about in this game.
No, not at all. It's been a slow game, to be honest. Nothing's really happened apart from good possession, good little bits of triangle play in the middle of the park by City and by Arsenal as well, but because they're set up to squeeze and to stop teams getting comfortable with the ball, it's just been going, it's a bit of a basketball game at the moment, to be honest with you. I'm liking Kovacic though, I've got to say. He looks very brave on the ball, making things happen for City.
He's always been a player, Dion, that wants the ball, has always tried to make things happen. The interesting thing now is that they've got sort of two midfield players that want to get on the ball in Rodri and Kovacic, and it probably allows a little bit more space further forward for players to exploit.
Kovacic sign from Chelsea as Ben White bursts into the penalty area, pulls it back. Havertz fractionally behind him, still manages to get the shot away, and on the rebound Martinelli has his shot blocked, and there was the excitement that has been so far devoid in this Community Shield, and it's Arsenal who come very, very close. Kai Havertz, I thought the moment was lost. It was played behind him from White's ball, but he still managed to swivel very, very quickly, gets the left-footed shot away, and then Martinelli on the follow-up, but City keep Arsenal at bay. Yeah, great position from Ben White. He's down the right-hand side. He gets to the corner of the box, down the right-hand side for Arsenal. His first touch takes it inside Akanji, and I'm thinking to myself, you're in the box, take the left foot shot on. He plays it square to Kai Havertz, and he just can't sort his feet out. Keeper Ortega making a really good save, and then a block from John Stones as well, hit him right in the midriff. So he's getting a bit of treatment at the moment.
It's the first time we've seen Ben White venture forward. I'd like to see him do that more.
Does it well, Craig, doesn't he?
He does it very well, and I think Arsenal have enough athleticism behind it to make sure that they can shut up shop, and you see on that the benefit of getting him forward and not playing in straight lines.
Well, it was a good save by the legs of Ortega to keep out Havertz. Signed from Chelsea for £65 million, a 5-year deal, as the ball is at the moment back with Saliba. Plays it square, Thomas Partey. White is forward, and here he is, the England international, just over the halfway line. It's a left-footed ball in field. He's brought down by John Stones. He comes under pressure from Havertz, but he just steps away, and then that was just a needless trip by Havertz, and he's shown the yellow card.
Yeah, he's not going to get the ball, and he just brings John Stones down. He just lets him get past him, and he just literally with his right foot, he just flicks John Stones' right foot. He's always going to get a yellow card.
We said Stuart's made it hard for himself. We want a competitive game, we want challenges, we need that, but also again it's the players have to take a bit of responsibility, because for me that's petulant.
Yes, it's petulant, and you know what as well, it can be dangerous for the player that's getting their ankles flicked as well.
The boos were from the Arsenal supporters, who don't feel that there's been consistency applied by referee Stuart Atwell. The other noticeable change that you're going to see this season is that stadium clocks will now be left running. They would previously stop at 45 and 90. I think it's a move that will actually help referees, because it's always bizarre, I felt, that the TV audience had more of an idea what was going on, how much longer time would be played, rather than the actual paying spectator inside the stadium. But that's going to change. It was in the EFL yesterday, and it's going to change here as well in the Community Shield at Wembley Stadium, and expect additional time to be more similar to what you'd get in the World Cup, longer periods of additional time. Talking of additional time, there's been a development at Ellen Road. John Bennett.
And the noise will tell you that it's a Leeds United equaliser. Leeds 2, Cardiff City 2. Crescencio Somerville with the goal, bouncing around in the box. A low shot on the turn into the back of the net. It's a deserved equaliser. Leeds United 2, Cardiff 2.
Earlier, Craig's former team Leicester City beat Coventry City by 2-1. They came from behind. Leeds United there have come from behind. We'll keep you in touch. Sunderland against Ipswich Town from 5 o'clock. Hibs St Mirren remains in the Scottish Premiership. St Mirren leading by 2-0. We're approaching the half hour. It remains goalless. Last goalless draw in this traditional curtain raiser was 2008. Manchester United and Portsmouth. There's no extra time, which will be a blessing for both managers, but we would go straight technically to a penalty shootout at level after 90 minutes.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a very slow game. I don't know what you think, Craig. The passing's slow. I think the team that picks up the pace, the team that plays 1 and 2 touch to a certain degree, is going to create more of the chances at the moment. It's very slow, laborious. Not a great watch at the moment.
No, it's not. And I also think, if I say to players, well, it's okay you standing, but the ball has to move quicker. And I think in terms of talking about ball speed, if you can move the ball quicker, but also then you need more options further forward. I look at the wide players and everything's in front of Arsenal. I'd like to see a little bit of movement further forward, probably from both teams.
Here is Kovacic. Ruben Dias, Kyle Walker now in a central area on that back line. It's Stones who's gone out to that right hand side for the time being, as Dias and Walker continue to pass the ball to each other. He turns the England international and plays it now to Ortega. City's pre-season tour, they went to the East, Japan and South Korea. Arsenal went to the States. Manchester City, they beat Yokohama 5-3. They beat Bayern Munich by 2-1 and then lost to Atletico 2-1. Whereas as Arsenal, a 1-1 draw against Nuremberg. MLS All-Star side, they trounced 5-0, lost to Manchester United as the ball goes back to Ramsdale, who in the end had to quickly and hurriedly clear as he was being chased down and closed down very quickly by Haaland. Barcelona 5-3 and then a 1-1 draw against Monaco. And again, another foul. Now the interesting thing is that not every foul has to result in a yellow card, but all of a sudden, because the yellow cards have gone against Arsenal, the Arsenal supporters have now got a grievance with referee Stuart Atwell.
I've just seen it back on the screen there. That's Jack Grealish, a little bit petulant there, against his England teammate Ben White, and he literally just leaves a little bit on him in his back. He puts his elbow in his back, and Ben White goes over, and like Craig says, if you've got to do it, then do it. If you're not, then keep an eye on it. But that's a yellow card for me.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one to keep your eye on that, because I think I remember previous games there's been a little bit of needle between the two. I don't think they're actually England teammates and colleagues. I think here it's a Man City player and an Arsenal player, so an interesting one to keep an eye on.
Full time at Ellen Road. John Bennett.
Leeds 2, Cardiff 2. Somerville's late equaliser means it's relief at Ellen Road. 2 first half goals against the run of play. Nearly enough for Cardiff. Bowler and Ugbo scored on their debuts. Cooper got one back for Leeds second half. And right at the end, 95th minute, they got the equaliser. It's finished Leeds 2, Cardiff 2.
There has now indeed been a yellow card shown to a Manchester City player, and it was Alvarez for needlessly just kicking the ball away. There were ironic cheers from the Arsenal supporters, and that really has been probably one of the talking points of this first half. It hasn't really been a great spectacle so far. We've been playing for over half an hour. It remains 0-0, but there has been at least another try at Salford. Dave Wood.
Salford 15, St Helens 18, 9 minutes to go. Jack Wellesby with a wonderful individual effort from 20 yards out, dummy and cut through. Saints have the lead for the first time since the 8th minute. Salford 15, St Helens 18.
Well, Rodri received the ball from Ortega, and he quickly came under pressure from Declan Rice. He's saying to referee Stuart Atwell, I was barged from behind. As a result, the ball was then passed back to Ortega, and it's gone behind for a corner kick to Arsenal.
Yeah, Arsenal haven't done that. They've set the press but they haven't surprised City with the press. City have seen it coming on that occasion. Declan Rice right behind Rodri, forcing him to play the ball back to his keeper. Hits it too hard, Arsenal get a corner. That's what they've got to do more.
It's the first time there's been a sprint to actually go and press.
Yeah.
Well, it's a corner kick that Arsenal are going to take on this near side to right. It remains 0-0 on BBC Radio 5 Live. Saka to take it, right arm aloft, curls it in left-footed, in towards the near post, headed up in the air by Akanji, but rather than away, it drops to on the head of Partey, and then sliced clear by Silva for Manchester City in their sky blue shirts. Saka plays it back, Saliba turns away from Rodri, Bernardo Silva, also there's a little bit of a kick out there at Rodri on Saliba, as Ramsdale comes out of his penalty area and clears it high and downfield. Good climb in the air though by Kyle Walker. It was a powerful, strong header away. Lovely touch by Ødegaard to bring that ball down. It came from a mighty height, but it was a cushioned touch from Ødegaard, who's on the ball now, and he holds onto it as well as Alvarez slips. And Alvarez has actually picked up a little bit of a strain there. Have to keep an eye on Alvarez, who's feeling that. Arsenal are attacking. Martinelli, left corner of the penalty area, still 0-0, rolls it back. Partey, cries of shoot from the Arsenal supporters as they attack the end where the City fans are housed, away towards our right-hand side. Ball played forward by Rice. Martinelli again on that far side, the left, goes on the outside of Walker, but Walker again managed to get something on it and took a lot of the pace off the ball, and it was then stabbed behind for a corner kick.
Yeah, I just think, Kyle Walker would allow players to see the byline, and he'll make sure that he's got that little bit of a yard. Martinelli that time had a bit of space, but Kyle Walker gets back again, gets a toe on it. Another corner, couple of corners for Arsenal now. They're looking better, a bit sharper.
Well, White, Saliba, Partey and Kai Havertz are four of the red and white striped shirts inside that 6-yard area as it's curling in and curls all the way over everybody's head and then out of play for a goal kick. Craig Shakespeare.
Good to see Martin Ødegaard getting on the ball. I think he's definitely a playmaker for them, and you see last season he can make the killer pass, and I think it's important Arsenal try and get him on the ball and a bit further forward. In terms of how they're playing, in terms of Thomas Partey and then Rice and Ødegaard as 2-8s, maybe in terms of just a little bit more rotation there and Rice to drop down as another 6 when they're building, and then it gets him on the ball.
Hibs have got a goal back at Easter Road in the Scottish Premiership. Hibs 1, St Mirren 2. In the Championship, Leicester City beat Coventry City 2-1. Leeds United 2-2, salvaging a draw, coming from 2-0 down at Ellen Road against Cardiff City. We've got about 10 minutes to go to half-time here on BBC Radio 5 Live. We're live at Wembley Stadium. We're also live on the World Service and on BBC Sounds. We've got England against Australia in the Netball World Cup final. Commentary from Sports Extra from 5. We'll take the last quarter here after the football. Saka attacking, right-hand side. Saka curls, but in the end his left-footed shot, he was appealing for a corner kick. It was well wide, Dion Dudley.
Yeah, he just wasn't set. Saka dropped his shoulder, came inside Akanji. It's not that far away, and we have seen him curl that one into the far corner before, but he was reaching and he's shouting for a corner, but there's nowhere near a corner. But that's another option for Arsenal. Get the ball to Saka, leave him one-on-one with Akanji. Something will happen.
Remember, this is a game that was moved to 4 o'clock after the initial time of 5:30 was criticised by both sets of supporters. There were fears of a boycott, so they moved it to 4. And I've got to say, there's not many empty red seats inside Wembley Stadium, but particularly for the Manchester City fans who've had to travel all that way from the northwest. What an effort that is to almost fill out the entire allocation.
Someone needs to tell the referee there's 2 balls on the pitch here, and they've always seen it.
Yeah, they spotted it now. But especially given, I was working out, this is their 20th trip for Manchester City and their supporters, their 20th trip to Wembley in 7 years to Wembley.
It's outstanding, isn't it? How many of those have you done, Darren? All 20?
4 Community Shields, 5 League Cups, 6 FA Cup semi-finals, 2 FA Cup finals and 2 games against Tottenham in the Premier League. And if my maths teacher who's listening from back in my school days thought I couldn't do maths, there you go. That's
why it's always a problem for teams that eventually get in an FA Cup final to get a hotel near Wembley, because Man City book it out at the beginning of the season.
Well, here they are, and we've been playing for 37 minutes and it remains 0-0. They're at their second home, if you like. Mind you, Arsenal's record isn't too shabby here. They've only lost just 2 of their last 15 games at Wembley Stadium. Here is Diaz, forward ball, Grealish dropping back inside his own half. Lost the ball though, he was crowded out by the red and white shirts of Arsenal. White though couldn't face the ball forward, but he held on to it. He turns, plays it out towards Saka, level the penalty area on this near side to right, has some support from White to Ødegaard, short ball back towards White, triangular passing movement now towards Saka again. Akanji blocks his path to goal. Ødegaard back towards Saka. Manchester City have plenty of sky blue shirts back as it remains goalless in this Community Shield. Now it's with Gabriel out towards that far side. Timber, Dutch international, back with Rice. In pre-season, Rice was getting forward a little bit further than he has so far here today for Arsenal. Now out towards Saka on this right-hand side once again, almost doubling up on Saka with Grealish and Akanji. Back towards White. Ball played towards Ødegaard, quickly closed down by Kovacic. That's something that they did very, very well when they played at the Etihad in April. Did a job on Ødegaard, as Craig Shakespeare says. He was so influential last season for Arsenal, particularly away from home. He had a number of goals and assists. As here he is, he tries to find a pocket of space, and he helps it on its way out towards Saka on the right-hand side. Back towards Ødegaard once again. Partey lets it come across his body, takes the touch with the left foot, now towards Timber. Arsenal now seeing a lot of the ball in this closing stages of the first half here on BBC Radio 5 Live. Back with Timber once more. Every outfield player is in the Manchester City half. Every sky blue shirt is back behind the ball as it's played up towards Havertz. He actually closes down Ruben Diaz, who then recovers and heads it away. Arsenal though recover the ball back and win it back with Gabriel. Now with Rice, little touch, White midway through the City half, urged on by their support away towards our left-hand side. Saka up against Akanji, back towards Ødegaard, lays it off first time. White just outside the area. Patient play this from last year's runners-up, who for so long had harboured hopes of winning the title. They led the Premier League for 248 days last season, did Mikel Arteta's side. Here is Ødegaard, they're trying to probe, looking for that run in behind, and Saka gets there. Saka with a cutback, Havertz, Ortega with a save. Hit it first time right-footed, and on his debut, Havertz unable to find the back of the net, and for the second time today, Ortega with the save. Now City release. Haaland held up by Saliba, and Mikel Arteta was extremely animated to make sure that everybody got back as quickly to curb that potential counter-attack for City.
Good save that. Good patient play from Arsenal, going down the left, then coming through the middle, going down the right, trying to find a gap, trying to find a City player that's not concentrating. Keeper was on it. Good save from Ortega.
Get the thoughts of Craig Shakespeare in a moment. Bernardo Silva meanwhile has rolled the ball to Kovacic. He's in the sunshine. Alvarez with a layoff towards Rodri just outside the area. No sight of goal though because of that body of red and white shirts, as there's no foul. Timber with a push there, and Bernardo Silva, the referee, waves play on, and Arsenal now with Havertz. Earlier on, Craig, I remember you saying about there's been no runs in behind. Correct me if I'm wrong, that might be the first time that somebody got in behind with Saka.
I think it was the first bit of sustained pressure Arsenal had, and although they tried to force one, it was this first bit of patience they showed, but the man on the ball had the options then of the runner in behind it. It created the opportunity where I actually think he should have done better there, should have put Arsenal 1-0 up, but great save.
It's been a half of few chances, so you won't be surprised if you've just joined us here on BBC Radio 5 Live in the World Service with 4 minutes to go to half-time to learn that it's still 0-0. But the two chances that have been created have both fallen to Arsenal and have both fallen to Havertz. Ortega with his legs, and then that second save as well to keep out the debutant signed from Chelsea. 32 goals in 139 appearances in his 3 years at Stamford Bridge. Now here we are in North London, Wembley Stadium, with the sun continuing to shine, edging our way towards half-time. Gabriel sweeps a long ball away downfield. Gabriel Jesus, just in case you were wondering, and if you're thinking of your fantasy football team, I noticed that Alistair Bruce Ball and Chris Sutton launched their first pod this week for the new fantasy football season. That's always available through the 5 Live Sounds. But Jesus, if you have got him in your team, you might want to take him out before the start of the season, because I'm anticipating that he'll miss the first 2 games of the new season. The Brazilian, he's just had a small procedure on the the knee. It had a few problems last season. He picked up that injury, of course, in the World Cup. So he might be out for about a fortnight or so, Gabriel Jesus. As Manchester City are attacking on the right-hand side with Bernardo Silva. Back towards Walker, level with the penalty area. Now it's with Stones. Goes back to Ruben Dias. The shadows lengthening here at Wembley Stadium. And now Ortega, the City goalkeeper, midway through his own half. He's just got time to touch the ball a few times and then finds Rodri. Now with Kovacic. Kovacic tried to spread it out to the left. It was blocked by Thomas Partey. It rebounds to Rodri, who goes for an ambitious effort. He spotted the goalkeeper off his line. That would have been a spectacular goal from Rodri. He's inside the centre circle of his own half. It was great vision. It spotted Ramsdale off his line, and the goalkeeper, all in black, furiously backpedaled. That was close.
That wasn't too far away at all. Everybody thought that Rodri was gonna ping it over to Jack Grealish, who was wide left. And I'm looking at Ramsdale there. I think he's just on his penalty spot. Just picked the wrong club there, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, great vision by Rodri, and that's the ones that embarrasses the keeper. But great vision.
It was a super bit of vision as well. That might just have been one to have embarrassed any goalkeeper from that sort of distance. Seen Xavi Alonso, I remember, for Liverpool, scoring a goal from a similar distance, but it was a terrific effort from Rodri.
Players will talk about that in terms of Ramsdale's high position. They'll know that when they get the ball there, he likes a high position, because then if it goes back to him.
Alvarez drills it in low from the right-hand side. Haaland had made the move forward. Again, White was good covering, good defending from the England international. Sorry, Craig.
Yeah, he likes to start, obviously, attacks off for Arsenal, so he's an option there. But as you say, Rodri spotted that he was probably a bit too high when Man City had the ball.
He might be mindful of that as the game continues. We're going to find out how much added on time there will be. The electronic board is just being handed to the fourth official, John Brooks, down below. Still 0-0 here in the Community Shield on BBC Radio 5 Live. Grealish on the inside now to Stones. Saliba came across, won that 50-50. The bouncing ball is hooked away by the Arsenal defender, only as far as Akanji, playing as left back for Manchester City. Kovacic passes the ball back to Akanji, who now goes inside to Rodri, and Rodri again coming from deep, surging forward. Now to Bernardo Silva, who gets there before Stones and passes the ball out towards that right-hand side. And Kyle Walker is on the attack, and he looks to go on the outside of Timber, but he's overrun it, and it will go out of play for a goal kick. 3 minutes of added on time. And I presume that now is going to be shown on the... let's just tick past 45. So there we have it, the supporters inside the stadium, where previously it would have stopped at 45 minutes. I think that will be... in fact, we did it together. Remember that referees conference we did a few summers ago?
Yeah.
At Heathrow?
Yes.
And actually said to the referees, if you do that, that will take away a lot of the pressure. From not just the supporters,
clear, it's clearer,
baying for the final whistle, but managers on the touchline and, dare I say it, coaching staff.
Much better idea.
So Leeds, who were 2-0 down at home to Cardiff, and it finished 2-2, and now in the Scottish Premiership, Hibs at home, who were also 2-0 down, and it's now 2-2. Christian Doidge has scored that second goal at Easter Road. So 2-2 at Ellen Road, 2-2 at Easter Road, and earlier at the King Power, Leicester City 2, Coventry City 1. In the Women's World Cup, Netherlands 2, South Africa 0. Dramatic penalty shootout. Sweden knocked out the United States. And a reminder tomorrow, England's women against Nigeria, the last 16. All the build-up with Juliet Ferrington from 8 o'clock on BBC Radio 5 Live. But we're into 3 minutes of added on time in the company of Craig Shakespeare and Dion Dublin and Steve Crossman here at Wembley Stadium. And for what has been a very slow-paced Community Shield, Manchester City, it might suit them. They've only played the 3 games as part of their warm-up campaign for the new season. They begin on Friday away to Burnley. A raucous Turf Moor awaits, and then they'll be going out to the heat of Athens for Sevilla in the Super Cup the following midweek. A game, incidentally, that will be live on BBC Radio 5 Live. Sevilla against Manchester City in the Super Cup. It's another potential trophy that they could add to their expanding cabinet at the Etihad. But this first half is just petering out, Dion.
Yeah, it is, and it's a lot hasn't happened, I've got to say, and I think the team that really picks up the squeeze and picks up the press in regards a sprint when it comes to a press, that's the team that's going to get the first chance.
Here is Kovacic collecting the ball from Stones, charging into the penalty area. It's a strong surging run by Kovacic. Took 4 Arsenal players to curb the run of the Croatian. Would you say he's been the standout player in this first half?
No, I think I'd struggle to pick anyone out, if I'm honest. I think it's been very safe. I think both teams haven't extended themselves. I think it's been very slow in possession. I'd like to see, as you say, a lot more movement off the ball and a lot more options for the man on the ball, a lot more forward runs. But I understand where both teams are at. But I expect, as the game to go on and there's substitutions, I expect the game to open up a bit more.
Yeah, we'll see a lot of substitutions. There are 9 on the bench. They can make at least 6. And we'll wait and see what folds or unfolds in the second half, because there isn't too much to digest from that first half for Steve Crossman, with Craig and Dion as the half-time whistle sounds. Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0.
Yeah, I think the thing most worthy of touching on, Dion, is probably the number of yellow cards that we've seen. 3 of them, none of them really for anything resembling a significant tackle or a significant foul. At some point, they've all been briefed. You can't kick the ball away even a little bit. You're going to get a yellow card. Do you have any sympathy for them?
Not really, because I think all 3 have been petulant, to be honest with you. Just, pulls back and clips of the heels and stuff. So, listen, they're going to have to learn very quickly, because we'll be seeing more and more yellows. Then you're going to see more and more reds as well. And we don't want to see red cards. However, players have got to take responsibility for those briefings at the start of the season and take them on board.
Our producer George Cummins' first great stat of the new season is that there have been more yellow cards than shots in the first half. And look, the kicking the ball away one, Craig, I suspect quite a lot of people will welcome that, because as a fan, when you see people wasting a little bit of time, even if it's only a couple of seconds, it is infuriating.
It is, and I think as long as a player, as a coach, you know the rules, what we go back to is at the beginning of the game when there's a pullback and it's nothing's done about it. I think as players you have to take responsibility, but also the referee. I've seen decisions over a season taper out, so something you've got a yellow card for in the first 2 games, you don't get one the 3rd, 4th, 5th or whatever. So all we ask for is the consistency, and if we get that, then we all know where we stand.
Craig Shakespeare, Dion Dublin, Ian Dennis, all with us inside Wembley Stadium. The Community Shield, Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0 at half-time. Just to say, by the way, if it's 0-0 at full-time, no extra time, we go straight to penalties. There's been another goal in that game in Scotland, and it's a late winner by the looks of it. Don't know how much stoppage time there'll be there. For St Mirren, Alex Grieve with the goal. They were 2-0 up at Hibs in their first game of the season, but Christian Doidge and Adam Lafondra, back in British football, got the goals for Hibs. So Hibs 2, St Mirren 3 inside the final moments there. Let's go back into Super League, that match between Salford and St Helens. Dave Woods.
It's finished. Salford 15, St Helens 18. Salford were leading 15-2 at half-time, which tells you about the second half performance from St Helens. 3 tries from the reigning champions, Matty Lees, Tommy Makinson and Jack Welsby. Welsby's especially a super individual effort to get them over the line and keep them in a hope of finishing maybe top 2 in this season. Salford's top 6 has really dented. Some significant scores elsewhere. Leeds 6, Lee 13. That dents Leeds' top 6 hopes, but Lee carry on flying. 6 days ahead of their Challenge Cup final at Wembley next week against Hull KR. That is a turn-up for them to win that today. And Wakefield are back bottom again because Hull have beaten Wakefield by 40 points to 4.
Let's find out who got over the line in the 100 at the Oval. Adam Mountford.
Well, it was quite tight in the end, but victory for the Welsh Fire means they're top of the table. 2 wins and a washout for them, but they only won by 3 wickets, 20 balls to spare. The Holders Oval Invincibles are defeated. 81-7 was the Welsh Fire score. Marizan Kapp did all she could, the great South African bowler. 4 for 18 she took, including the England star Tammy Beaumont's the first ball of the innings, and the West Indies captain Hayley Matthews out for a duck. But 28 from Sophia Dunkley, the current England player, and 33 from the former England player George Elwys just about saw the Welsh Fire home. So disappointment for the double champions Oval Invincibles, but Welsh Fire top of the table.
Just over an hour to go until centre pass in the Netball World Cup final. England versus Australia. You'll hear full commentary live on 5 Sports Extra. We will then join it during the final quarter here on 5 Live once we're done at Wembley Stadium in the Community Shield, which at half-time is Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0. We'll be back here after the latest news with Lisa McCormick.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Cheers, Steve. A man who was jailed for 17 years for a rape he didn't commit says people will no longer have to hand over cash for their own torture. It's after the government scrapped rules, meaning that those who are wrongly convicted pay jail costs from their compensation. Andrew Malkinson says the change is a step in the right direction. Officials in Pakistan say at least 30 people have been killed in a train crash. More than 100 have been injured. Shahjeel Memon is the area's information minister.
Definitely the top priority of government is the rescue work, which we are totally focusing on. All the hospitals of the suburb are standby. He announced that we will give them the best treatment.
Police in West Yorkshire are investigating after a 12-year-old boy was killed in a hit and run. It took place in the M62 near Cleckheaton yesterday. A 36-year-old man's been charged with causing or allowing the death of a child. The former Lost Prophet singer Ian Watkins has been attacked in Wakefield Prison, where he's serving a 29-year sentence for child sex offences. The Mirror newspaper is reporting that he was stabbed. The prison service says police are investigating. The number of migrants who've crossed the Channel in small boats so far this year has surpassed 15,000. That's down 15% on the same period last year. And a building once known as Britain's wonkiest pub because of one side had sunken into the ground has been destroyed by fire. Crews were called to the Crooked House near Dudley last night. The cause of the fire isn't yet known.
We've all heard that if you spend too much time on screens, you'll get square eyes. But when we sat some kids down to watch their favourite shows, this is what happened with Ranger Hamza's EcoQuest.
They teach people about growing food.
Bluey.
Blue is really kind to other people.
And Horrible Histories.
The Saxons gave out disgusting presents.
So maybe you don't get square eyes, but can actually become well-rounded. Screens. It's what's on them that counts. This is our BBC.
This is 5 Live Sport
with Steve Crossman.
And we've got second half commentary from the Community Shield on the way. Elsewhere at the Women's World Cup, the defending champions, the USA, have been knocked out by Sweden on penalties in Melbourne. 3 American players missed. That includes Megan Rapinoe in what will be her final appearance. The scenes at the end were incredible. So the American keeper, Alyssa Nair, appeared to have saved Lena Hurtig's crucial kick, but it was then given by goal line technology. It was unbelievably tight. Well, despite a disappointing tournament, the USA coach Vlatko Andonovski says he was actually happy with how his team played.
So proud of the team, so proud of the girls, of the women on the field and everybody outside. I mean, I know they were criticized, or we were criticized for the way we played, and I know we were criticized for different moments in the group stage. I think we came out today and showed what we're all about, okay? Showed the grit, the resilience, the fight, the bravery, okay? Showed everything that we could to win the game. And unfortunately, soccer can be cruel sometimes.
Sweden then will play Japan in the quarter-finals. Netherlands beat South Africa 2-0 to set up a tie with Spain. England, of course, play Nigeria in the last 16 tomorrow morning. It kicks off at 8:30. Full commentary live from Brisbane here on 5 Live. Let's hear from the England manager, shall we? Sarina Wiegman thinks Keira Walsh could feature tomorrow, just 10 days after she picked up that knee injury against Denmark.
Yeah, for the whole team, of course, it's very nice when you have 23 players available for a game, and it's not. It's a big game, so then you have choices to make, and we've shown that also when Keira would not be available, what options we have. We know that, but we also know Katie Zellem has done really well, but we also know that, of course, Keira is an exceptional player.
That is Sarina Wiegman. In the Championship, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall scored twice as Leicester came from a goal down to beat Coventry by 2-1. And Crescencio Somerville's 95th minute equaliser got Leeds a point. They came from 2-0 down to draw 2-2 against Cardiff. Sunderland made the playoffs last season in what was their first campaign back in the Championship. Ipswich have returned after 4 seasons in League One, so they visit the Stadium of Light this afternoon, watched by Chris Coles.
The opening weekend of Championship fixtures concludes with this intriguing exciting prospect. Sunderland attempting to better that expectation-exceeding season. Not always easy, but top 6 seems a realistic target again. 7 new signings to play with. 2 of them make their debuts today. Hemir up front and Joe Bellingham, younger brother of Jude, playing in midfield. Every pre-season preview appears to have newly promoted Ipswich near the top, and you can understand why. Such was their brilliance in League One. Manager Kieran McKenna, plenty of admirers, and a sign of last season's domination, a familiar side. 9 of the starting 11 began Ipswich's final match in League One. Here come the 2 teams. Should be a good game this, Steve.
Well, it'll do well to beat the opening game between Hibs and St Mirren in the Scottish Premiership, which has now finished Hibs 2, St Mirren 3. St Mirren were 2-0 up, then Hibs fought back to 2-2, and in the 89th minute, the winner was scored by Alex Grieve. England's netballers are about to face Australia in the World Cup final. Gets underway in 10 minutes' time. You can listen on 5 Sports Extra. You can watch on BBC Two. Sarah Orchard will keep us up to date here on 5 Live. Sarah, I know you covered it when England won Commonwealth gold. If it's possible, this is even bigger.
It's absolutely huge. It's a wonderful moment when to know that everyone, once again, it was breakfast time when they won that Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast. It's now going to be tea time on a Sunday. So I always have a rule in my house: if it's sport, you're allowed to put it on. So get your BBC Two switched on as quickly as you can, because it is absolutely packed out in the Cape Town arena. They are absolutely flooding in right now. They're just going through a few more warm-ups for the teams go back inside and then get presented to the crowd itself. But yeah, the expectation is huge. You have to give so much credit to the England head coach, Jess Thirlby. She's really regenerated this England side. They had a lot of criticism after the Commonwealth Games last year where they finished 4th, but there is expectation. They have beaten Australia in the prelims. They also put New Zealand into that bronze medal match a little bit earlier today after they knocked them out in the semi-finals. So yes, these Red Roses, they are doing something special.
Beating Australia once at a World Cup is something special. Beating them twice in a week would be... I mean, what would it be? What's the word?
It would be quite historic. Australia have never been beaten twice at a World Cup, and they beat them last Thursday, but such is the mentality, and I think that's the big difference of England under Jess Thirlby compared to perhaps previous regimes we've seen. England expect, they know that they can do it. There's a big difference. They're not beaten until the final second, and that is often how these netball matches are won. They come down to the final moments. They were 8 goals down to Australia on Thursday and then came back in the final 10 seconds to win it, and they know they can do that now. That is the difference. It is the belief, and you've got to say, when you've got players like Ajiva Mentor, who is at her 6th and final World Cup, she's going to retire after this match, along with the likes of Jay Clark, also at her 6th World Cup. They've been there, they've done it, they've got a stack load more caps than Australia have. You do believe perhaps this could be their moment if Australia perhaps haven't taken it too personally what happened only a couple of days ago.
Thank you very much. That's Sarah Orchard, who is keeping us up to date. Live commentary on 5 Sports Extra. You can also watch it, as Sarah was saying there, on BBC Two. Here inside Wembley Stadium, we are just a few moments away from kick-off in the second half of the Community Shield. It's Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0. As I said earlier, straight to penalties if it's level at the end of, I was going to say 90 minutes, but it'll probably be a total of about 100 minutes based on the new way in which football is working, with no allowance for time being wasted. We've got Ian Dennis, Dion Dublin, Craig Shakespeare.
will open up a bit more.
I wonder if, and who knows how many changes will be made ahead of the second half. Could be a few, could be none. I wonder if this second half is quite important for Kai Havertz, Dion, because he's had a couple of chances that, you know, maybe if Erling Haaland was playing up front for Arsenal, he probably takes both of those chances. But given what's happened to Havertz over the course of the last year, he's had a couple of opportunities there. What difference would it make to him to be able to get on the score sheet today?
Listen, it'd be great for him in that sort of centre-forward position. Whether he's going to take that position all season, we have to wait and see, but it would have been a lot easier to keep it if he puts the ball in the back of the net. From what I've seen of him today, 2 or 3 things, he's got himself into some really good positions, hence the 2 chances he's had. The one where I pulled out where he held up the ball and he fought John Stones off, you know, that kind of sort of really being secure with the ball is good to see as well. So from what I've seen of him, I've not seen any, Craig mentioned, I've not seen any player that stood out for me. Kovacic for me, he's probably the best of a bad bunch, but Kai Havertz, what he's done well.
He has, in fairness, Pep Guardiola found a proper number 2 goalkeeper in Stefan Ortega, Craig, hasn't he?
He has, and it's the quality of the squad. But you know, if you're a Man City goalkeeper, your distribution has to be very, very good, very calm on the ball. Most goalkeepers, as Dion will tell you, I think they're 5-a-side players and play up front anyway. So you can see he's that type as well.
Well, that's how Aaron Ramsdale almost got caught out by Rodri. What an unbelievable goal that would have been. So second half on the way here from here inside Wembley Stadium. We've actually still got the ground staff on the pitch just picking away at the turf. Calvin Phillips and the Manchester City substitutes have just taken their place away to our right-hand side. And here now come the 2 teams. We haven't talked very much about Erling Haaland at all, actually, this afternoon. He's second out of the tunnel for Manchester City here, and Stefan Ortega is just jogging away to the left-hand side in the second half in goal, right in front of the Arsenal fans. So Manchester City and Arsenal, the second half of the Community Shield, straight to penalties if we're there come the end of the final whistle, and then we'll be taking you live to Cape Town, the Netball World Cup final, England versus Australia. Centre passes 5 minutes away. You'll hear it all on 5 Sports Extra, but here on 5 Live, it's the Community Shield with Dion Dublin, Craig Shakespeare and Ian Dennis.
Thank you, Steve. Well, we're still waiting for Arsenal to come out, but Manchester City are out, and there's no changes that have been made from Pep Guardiola as Aaron Ramsdale comes out first for the Arsenal players to follow on, and it looks like there's no changes either from Mikel Arteta's side, which now means, with no changes at half-time, that both sides will have 3 opportunities now in the second half to make their 6 substitutions if they so wish. So a reminder of the 2 teams. Ortega is in goal for the treble winners, Manchester City. Kyle Walker, Diaz, Stones and Akanji. Rodri and Kovacic with Bernardo Silva, Julian Alvarez, Jack Grealish and Erling Haaland. Sky blue shirts, white shorts, and playing in the second half from left to right as we look. So they're attacking where the City fans are housed in the west end of the stadium here at Wembley, and Arsenal in their traditional colours, the red and white shirts and the white shorts as the game restarts, have Aaron Ramsdale in goal. It's a back 4 of White, Gabriel, Saliba and Timber, Partey, Rice and Ødegaard, Saka, Havertz and Martinelli as a front 3. The referee is Stuart Atwell. It's 0-0. BBC Radio 5 Live, also live on BBC World Service, as a lot of the supporters still around us are getting back to their seats after enjoying the half-time hospitality, and they'll be hoping for some goals in this second half. As Steve mentions the yellow cards, just as a reminder, there were 3 shown to Arsenal, including their manager Arteta. Partey and Havertz were the other 2. Alvarez was booked for Manchester City, as Akanji passes the ball back to Ortega, and Ortega, the goalkeeper, chips it out to Walker, but he's hit that a little bit too hard, giving it a little bit too much loft, and it goes over the head of Walker and out for an Arsenal throw that they take quickly. Have you spotted anything already in these opening 60 seconds, Craig, from a coaching perspective that might have changed from either of the 2 managers?
No, you can see again it's Arsenal in possession, Man City quite happy to sit behind the ball, and I think vice versa. I think in terms of very much, let's hope it changes, but very much like the first half at the moment.
Yeah, certainly we could do with an injection of pace into this game, a few more goal mouth incidents wouldn't go amiss as Ramsdale, all in black, hits it left-footed downfield. Akanji running back from that left back roll for Manchester City just nods it back into the to the hands of Stefan Ortega. As the two sides will be preparing this the final game before the Premier League starts next weekend, with Manchester City opening up the first game at Burnley, Arsenal at home to Nottingham Forest. But you look back over the last 5 seasons and Manchester City very much really have been the standard bearers of English football. They've collected 447 points over the last 5 seasons. Liverpool then next with 424, Arsenal 340, Manchester United 339 and Chelsea 323. Gives you an indication of the high standards, Dion Dublin, that Pep Guardiola's side have set over recent years.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they're top of the tree at the moment in everything, I would imagine, as well. Goals, passes, everything. They're just a very quality side, and he'll just want to keep those standards as high as they've been. He'll want that kind of point tally again, which will mean that they stay at the top of the pile. Just need, in this particular game though, you just need a little bit more sharpness. You need a few more sprints, whether it's sprinting to close the ball down, sprinting to get in behind. We haven't seen any of that yet, and when we have, I think it was Declan Rice closing down Rodri, and we got something that happened, a bit of a spark. Need more of that.
You'd have to say as well, and just noticing then when Man City attack, the compactness of Arsenal in their defensive third, and both teams have been very compact, getting players behind the ball, sometimes having all 10 outfield players behind the ball. So it's going to take something a little bit special, and when I talk about that, I'm thinking about Kevin De Bruyne in terms of opening a pass up and putting a pass through. So it might take something like that, but also in terms of the individual players, the wide players, in terms of dribbling 1v1s.
That's the voice of Craig Shakespeare, former Leicester City manager, assistant of course at Aston Villa, vast experience both as a coach and as a manager and a player in his career. And Dion Dublin, who's with us also here at Wembley Stadium, as Manchester City are attacking out towards Grealish. Grealish away from White, stands over the cross, headed away by Saliba, might drop towards Walker. He will let the ball bounce first of all, waited to see where it was going to bounce, and Arsenal have been able to get it up towards Saka, and now he plays the ball forward over on that far side to Ødegaard, who drops his shoulder, and he's away from the sliding challenge of Kovacic. Then he passes the ball now towards Havertz, and it might be able to open up, but then Havertz caught in possession, and in fact there's a City player who's gone down as well over on that far side. He was just
Diaz, I think.
He was just caught, wasn't he? Yeah, it is Diaz. He went down, and straight away the game has been stopped.
There's an awkward coming together with Kai Havertz and Diaz. Diaz is up on his feet, no surprise there. Very rarely does he stay down. Diaz very strong centre midfield, centre back, doesn't suffer falls. Just watching the replay again, Kai Havertz just his ankle, I think.
It was a nice turn from Ødegaard, and it just threatened to open up for Arsenal.
Not enough players forward though. Kai Havertz up on his own, not enough players in and around him. And as good as Kai Havertz is, and as good as he was in the first half, it's really difficult as a centre forward if you're up there on your own to hold up the ball and hold off players that are in front of you, behind you.
Stones charges forward from defence, and then he's caught in possession by Rice. Rice slips the ball on the inside, fractionally behind Martinelli, who slides onto his knees. Bernardo Silva now towards Rodri in the centre circle. Kovacic passes the ball forward. Alvarez in a central area. Bernardo Silva, Kyle Walker on the overlap. Here is the England international, first time low ball, and it's turned behind by a tumbling Timber. And it is a corner kick to Manchester City.
Yeah, what I got from that is Declan Rice playing the wrong pass, just in behind his teammate, but getting back to defend as well. Just a natural reaction to get back. Ball's been given away, get back and defend to help his team out.
6 minutes into the second half, BBC Radio 5 Live, still goalless here in the Community Shield between the treble winners Manchester City and last year's Premier League runners-up Arsenal. Corner kick, Alvarez to take it, right-footed. Stones with a header, beaten out by Ramsdale, headed further away by Gabriel. His first real save for Ramsdale in the game. It was Stones directing the header. It was a comfortable height for the keeper.
It was packed in the box as well. It actually wasn't a great corner. It was looped into the box, and Stones just managed to get a good head on it. It was going in the top corner, I think it was. Yeah, it was Stones. Lots of players in there, but Ramsdale in the right place, just palming it away. Loads of bodies in there, Craig.
Yes, I mean, the physicality you can see from both teams from corners, but I think it was a nice hike for the goalkeeper.
Well, there's an injury to an Arsenal player on the far side, and as a result, the Arsenal players are taking on a lot of liquid refreshment. The sun is shining. I'd imagine it's quite sticky down there at pitch side. The City players likewise are also coming over. So as a reminder, with only 7 minutes into the second half, a lot of the players still getting their instructions now from their respective managers, and it gives us an opportunity just to point into the direction of the Netball World Cup final at Cape Town. Sports Extra will have commentary. England, Australia. We plan to take the last quarter here live on 5 Live. We'll have updates though from Sarah Orchard, and then tomorrow, and 6:06 follows that, I think I'm right in saying, on 5 Live. But tomorrow from 8 o'clock, Juliet Farrington ahead of England's women against Nigeria in the last 16 of the Women's World Cup. You'll hear it live on BBC Radio 5 Live, available on BBC Sounds, and it's also live on BBC One. Tuesday we have first round action of the League Cup. Wednesday a Premier League preview show with Kelly Cates, and next Saturday 4 games of the Premier League live on BBC Radio 5 Live. The Amex Brighton Luton Saturday afternoon, Newcastle Villa Saturday tea time, Brentford Tottenham, and Chelsea Liverpool next Sunday. So a lot of live sport to look forward to on BBC Radio 5 Live. And after that impromptu break, there is and the drinks break that was taken into consideration as well. Now technically that all should be added on. You know, we are going to see a lot more of, we saw it yesterday in the opening day of the Football League. You know, I think that the days of 3 minutes and 4 minutes added on come the end of a game, I think you'll be looking more the norm of 6, 7, maybe even 8, 9, as it was in the World Cup at times.
Yeah, and you know what, the World Cup, we worked together at the World Cup as well, Ian, and it worked. I think it worked. There's no way around trying to get the advantage now.
The ball played forward out towards that far side. There was a cross. That's another of the new directives as well. Ødegaard had to leave the play for treatment, and the Arsenal fans, he was itching to get back on. But if you leave the field of play, you are not allowed to come back on for at least 30 seconds. It's another one of the directives. They're all trying to enhance improve the playing time as well throughout the season. So Ødegaard was waiting and willing to come on, but the referee had to wait 30 seconds, or at least 30 seconds, before he could come back onto the field of play. I mentioned that World Cup final, England-Australia. Sarah Orchard.
Still very early here, just 6 minutes played at the first quarter. It's England 6, Australia 7, and it's Australia who just have the edge. They managed to get a goal on the opening centre pass, which was England's. Imogen Allison of Team Bath, she managed to get a loose ball that went wide. It was the Diamonds that took it, and it's Australia who lead now. England 6, Australia 8.
Commentary of that one is on Sports Extra. Free kick to Arsenal, taken quickly. Rice on this near side, still 0-0, 10 minutes into the second half. Now out towards Martinelli. Rice goes on ahead of him, left-hand side of the penalty area. Back with Martinelli. Now it's with Timber. Jurrien Timber, the Dutch international, with Declan Rice. Plays it back. Very versatile defender. Plays on the right side of the three at times for his country. He hasn't rotated. We thought that they might rotate with Ben White, but he stayed as a permanent fixture on this left-hand side so far. 56 minutes in. Here is Rice. Havertz wanted to come short. Rice holds onto the ball, plays it square. Saliba turns out towards White on that far side. Saka just to slip it on the inside. Thomas Partey touches the ball forward to Ødegaard. Ødegaard flicks it back, and now Arsenal pass the ball towards Gabriel. Arsenal supporters find their voices as that's the end that Arsenal are attacking. Declan Rice, their club record signing on his debut after that £105 million move from the East End of London to North London. Havertz comes short midway through the City half. City, though, have got every sky blue shirt back behind the ball, and at the moment Arsenal just cannot find a way through, Craig.
No, like we're saying, Man City, everyone behind the ball, good shape, good structure, not looking to press too too vigorously, just sort of maintaining it. But this is where Arsenal needs to have a little bit of rotation and a little bit more movement further forward. So whether it's Xhaka coming inside and Ben White, as he did first half, on the overlap, I'd like to see a little bit more movement.
Well, at the moment it's a stalemate here at Wembley Stadium as Rice passes the ball forward and Timber now tries to release Martinelli. It was a right-footed ball that was ahead of Martinelli, and here we get the first of the substitutions, and it's going to be Phil Foden who is going to be coming on. Kevin De Bruyne, incidentally, is on the bench for Manchester City, but it's Jack Grealish who's going to be coming off. So the first of 3 opportunities to make a change, and Phil Foden, hard to believe, isn't it, Dion? He's 23 years of age. He's already got 11 trophies to his name.
Yeah, it's an amazing achievement, and I think the way that he's been managed by Pep Guardiola is outstanding as well, allowing him to stay and to learn his trade and learn from the best in the world. He's becoming one of the best as well.
Approaching the hour mark on BBC Radio 5 Live, and it's still 0-0.
Jack will absolutely hate that being brought off. He wants to play every minute of every game. Probably the most talented player I've ever worked with in terms of natural ability, but probably one of the hardest to manage in terms of moaning and groaning in terms of better decisions. But you know what? I don't mind that, because he would test you and challenge you. But underneath that, it was just a winning mentality, because he had so much natural ability. But boy, he'll have a moan about being brought off.
He's a smashing young man though, isn't he, Jack Grealish?
He's got a heart of gold, does lots of things. I remember being at Villa and leaving the training ground about 6:30 one evening. I'd not long been there, and Jack was sat in the lounge waiting to go home, bearing in mind most players had left at 2. Jack, what are you doing? And well, I've just done a gym session since 4:30. So he used to do his own gym sessions in the afternoons, have a sleep, and then go and do gyms twice a week. You know, people don't think of things that he's had to do to get him to the top.
Well, he's off now. Foden is on. Arsenal have been awarded a free kick, right-hand side of their far side. Just in from the touchline, midway through the City half. It was a challenge Diaz made on Saka. Arteta's having a word with John Brooks, the 4th official. Martinelli waits, and it's a dummy run to take the first effort of a free kick, so he stalls that, comes back again, whips it in right-footed. John Stones trying to head it away from his own goal, running into his own 6-yard area. Bright sunshine where the Arsenal fans are bathed in at that end of the ground as it goes out of play for a City throw, and it remains Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0. Kyle Walker waits to take the throw. Remember, there's no extra time. We'll go straight to a penalty shootout. I don't think we'll match the drama of Sweden against the United States in the Women's World Cup, where Sweden beat the United States 5-4, and the decisive kick adjudged to have crossed the line by, well, if it was any more than a millimetre, I'd be amazed. But we will wait and see if the deadlock can be broken here at Wembley Stadium for these two sides, as the ball goes all the way back to Ortega. But with the exception of a Stones header saved by Ramsdale, we haven't really had an increase in terms of goalmouth activity. But Pep Guardiola has just walked into that technical area, and this is going to be significant because he's just hollered and he's just summoned Kevin De Bruyne. And Kevin De Bruyne, bearing in mind, hasn't played any games at all, got no minutes under his belt in pre-season. It could be a significant run out. In fact, Kevin De Bruyne will be coming on. So for the first time since he left the field in Istanbul in the Champions League final with that hamstring injury, so that will be significant and crucial for Manchester City. If he can get a run out of at least half an hour here, then that will be 30 minutes of valuable game time for the talented Belgian international, as Arsenal try and play the ball and beat the City press. Out to Timber, chips it forward right-footed, up towards Martinelli, shy of the halfway line, takes it away from Rodri, tries to run away from Rodri, who tried to match him stride for stride. Partey provides the support coming through the centre circle and over the halfway line. Now leaves it for Ødegaard. Arsenal playing from right to left, out towards that far side, and as White delivers the cross, Akanji cuts it out and it rebounds off the unfortunate White and out for a goal kick. Dion Dublin.
Yeah, it's a great little bit of play from Arsenal. I mean, Martinelli going into the middle of the pitch and doing a lovely turn, then he can see the play. That's when you need Kai Havertz to make a run, a centre-forward thinking run in behind, stretch the play, give your teammate a bit more time to play with, and he just didn't do it. It just made the pitch more condensed and Martinelli giving the ball away.
Well, Cole Palmer is also going to be coming on, so it's going to be a double change. This second opportunity for Manchester City to make alterations. It will mean they'll only have one more opportunity to potentially bring on 3 more substitutes, but the fact that Kevin De Bruyne is coming on, he's got an excellent record against Arsenal, he's got a terrific record here at Wembley Stadium, but more importantly, from a coaching point of view, Craig Shakespeare, to get at least, you'd think, 30 minutes, valuable game time. What a bonus that's going to be after the injury he suffered in Istanbul.
Yes, and it's great to see him back, and I think it's just what the game needs. I think someone of Kevin De Bruyne's quality, hopefully he's at a fitness that can make an impact in there, but it'd be great to see him back out there.
Rice finds Martinelli. Martinelli enters the penalty area, left-hand side, turns, edge of the area, was pulled back, and then Rice has a go. Not too sure whether Saka got in the way of Ødegaard. Ødegaard had timed his run to arrive in the penalty area centrally, and then it came back to Rice, and he leant back and he hit it right-footed. It was over the top. But here comes that double change, and Erling Haaland is coming off. I haven't been keeping a tally, but I would imagine he's had more touches than he had at the King Power in last season's Community Shield, which was only 16. But he hasn't really had a sight of goal. Cole Palmer replaces him, and then Kevin De Bruyne is going to come on, and the player who's going to be coming off for Kevin De Bruyne is Kovacic. His debut lasted just over an hour.
Yeah, and I think what Craig said is absolutely spot on. I think Kevin De Bruyne will change the game. I just think with his energy, and he only knows one way to play, he'll be bursting forward, trying to get his fitness, of course, but naturally he'll want to get forward and play those ball forward and make those runs as well. So I think the game's going to change now.
Kevin De Bruyne, who's been involved in 8 goals in his last 8 games against Arsenal, and involved in 6 goals in his last 8 at Wembley, as referee Stuart Atwell. It was Rodri, wasn't it, on this near side, went into a challenge. There was no free kick, but the referee has indeed awarded a corner kick to Arsenal. So 0-0, 64 minutes played. Arsenal are attacking the end where the supporters are, trying to shield the sun from their eyes, many of them behind that goal. Corner kick on this near side, the left. Manchester City have sky blue shirts back aplenty. Corner kick, Martinelli, crowded area, up towards Havertz, headed behind, back behind for another corner kick to Arsenal. Successive corners here as we approach the midway point of the second half on BBC Radio 5 Live, the World Service, and BBC Sounds. Martinelli carefully places the ball down once again. A number of Arsenal supporters jigging around. A cluster of them all in black behind that goal as Martinelli in towards the near post. That was a disappointment. Into the side netting. End of the first quarter in Cape Town. The World Cup final in the netball. England-Australia. Sarah Orchard.
It's England 13, Australia 13, and it'll be the Diamonds who are the most frustrated. They were 4 goals up. They had everything they wanted in attack. They were suffocating England in their attack, but then it changed. Jess Thirlby's side have really stepped up. Great shooting from Housby and Cardwell to level after the first quarter. 13-all in the World Cup final.
Commentary of that on Sports Extra. The final quarter will be live here on 5 Live. In the Championship earlier, Leicester 2, Coventry 1. Leeds United came from 2-0 down to draw 2-2 with Cardiff City. What's the latest at the Stadium of Light, Chris Coles?
25 minutes in, Sunderland 0, Ipswich 0. Really good game, good chances for both. For Sunderland, Joe Bellingham shooting just over when well placed. Ipswich, Leif Davis, a volley from him cleared off the line. Promising signs, but no goals.
No goals here as well, so we potentially could have a penalty shootout in about 24 minutes time, depending on how much additional time that referee Stuart Atwell plays as the ball goes back to Ortega, all in green, away towards our left. He clears it long. Gabriel easily beats Alvarez in the area. Only comes though to Bernardo Silva, who runs forward. Declan Rice running back, doing what Declan Rice does best. And the Arsenal fans love that. They loved that burst of energy, and they rose to their feet to applaud the England international, as then it's chipped away by Ramsdale, who had to get rid of it a little bit quicker than maybe he wanted to because of the attentions of Alvarez.
Yeah, listen, I'm expecting Declan Rice to do that. It's part of his makeup. He doesn't know anything else but just to work hard for his team, and just getting back there, and Silva thought he was in, and the imposing figure of Declan Rice taking the ball off him, keeping the ball as well, back to his centre half, and that's when Arsenal have got to now keep the ball instead of giving it away.
Martinelli, Havertz over the halfway line, being tracked by Rodri, turns on the inside towards Timber, passes the ball back towards Havertz on this left-hand side. Havertz almost level with the penalty area, passes the ball along the ground. Partey turns, and now it's with Saliba, feeds it out towards White. Low cross from the right-hand side, almost swept in first time by Saka. Just couldn't get that meaningful touch. City get the ball away. But it was probably Arsenal's best attack of this second half in a game of few clear-cut chances. Craig Shakespeare.
Yeah, a little bit more incisive by Arsenal, and as you say, I think he'll be disappointed, Saka, that he didn't make a better contact with it. But real good play by Arsenal.
You said Ben White getting forward can make a difference, Craig, and he did just then.
Yeah, exactly, because there's movement from the wide players to take in, to leave the space for the full-backs, and that's what I think Arsenal will need to do more of.
Saka, 15 goals last season, was the best of his career. He's signed a new deal in the summer, extending his contract to 2027, as the Arsenal fans again try to raise the volume inside Wembley Stadium. We're midway through the second half and it remains 0-0. Here is Rodri for Manchester City, playing the ball long, looking towards Kevin De Bruyne, as Foden touches the ball short to De Bruyne, passes the ball back inside. Bernardo Silva outside the area, behind, then it goes to Rodri, forces Kyle Walker a little bit further out wide right. Cole Palmer is now ahead of him, level with the penalty area. Palmer puts his left foot on the ball, waits, rolls it back towards Walker. Rodri's available as well. Here is Stones, short forward ball given back to him by Rodri, but a walking pace Manchester City, and now Ruben Dias is on the ball as Akanji's far wide on that left hand side. Bernardo Silva now takes over. The referee almost gets in the way. Bernardo Silva though leaves it towards Stones, back towards Walker. But Arsenal forcing Manchester City away from their penalty area, as the red and white scarves are being swirled around the heads of the Arsenal supporters in the end away towards our left-hand side. In the sunshine here at Wembley Stadium, but it still is goalless with just over 20 minutes remaining of normal time. As De Bruyne now coming forward. De Bruyne passes the ball inside, little touch by Foden. Cole Palmer steadies himself, Palmer with a shot, took a deflection, corner kick, and that deflection was crucial.
Yeah, you see De Bruyne there finding space, very, very good at finding spaces in between the pockets there, and then releases a pass. His decision making and his weight of pass is always spot on.
It was deflected off Timber and behind for a corner kick that has been taken short and quickly. De Bruyne to Foden on this near side, the right. Manchester City playing from left to right. Walker lifts it in deep in towards the penalty area. It was Diaz who was challenging, and he goes behind for another corner kick. We've got time, I think, to squeeze in a result in the cricket. Henry Moran.
Northern Superchargers victorious in the men's competition, 202. They set the target for the Southern Brave, who fell 60 runs short. Harry Brook played outstandingly for the Superchargers. The Southern Brave women won the earlier match in this doubleheader.
Thanks, Henry. Corner then on that far side, the left. That was in the 100. Still 0-0. Corner taken short though here for Manchester City on that far side, the left. Delivered, then bounces away off the chest of White. Scooped further clear by Martinelli, but only as far as Kyle Walker. Interesting, isn't it, that Arsenal have resisted the temptation to make a change with 19 minutes remaining. City have introduced De Bruyne, Foden and Cole Palmer. City have Smith Rowe and Nketiah. Trossard, who's done ever so well in pre-season, particularly in the 5-3 win in the States against Barcelona.
Smith Rowe's a really interesting one for me. I think
ball played around the back for Havertz, but then just running gliding across that lush green surface with Stones to cut out any threat. Craig?
When he first came onto the scene, and when we was at Villa, we really tracked him and wanted to sign him. And I think over the last 12 months, injuries, loss of form, not had game time, he'll be one that can make an impact, but obviously he needs the game time to do that. And he's a player of immense talent that can play as a number 10, can carry the ball forward, can play as a wide player. But so really interesting season for him.
It is, bearing in mind that last season Smith Rowe didn't make a start at all. His 14 appearances were all off the bench. Still no goals after half an hour at the Stadium of Light in the Championship between Sunderland and Ipswich Town. Tony Mowbray against his former club, and indeed I spoke too soon, because Leandro Trossard is going to be coming on for Arsenal with 18 minutes remaining in this Community Shield that still is deadlocked at 0-0. Manchester City on that far side, the left, Akanji. Ball played then back towards the halfway line. Ambling across is Diaz. Bernardo Silva, steady pace from Manchester City. Passes the ball to Ruben Dias, left-hand side of the centre circle. Arsenal again have dropped off. Outstretched arm of Pep Guardiola, now in that white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, as the ball is played forward to Walker. Collects it unmarked, right-hand side of the penalty area, fires it across and closed down by the knees of Timber, and diverts it behind for a corner kick. Dion Dublin.
Yeah, I think that ball's been on all game, to be honest, that diagonal pass. I mean, both sides have been really drawn over to where the ball is, leaving the furthest opponent man free as a bird. If you're willing to play that diagonal ball, then the winger's in all game. They've already done it 2 or 3 times, both sides.
De Bruyne then ready to take the corner kick near side the right. Foden is available as a short option. Doesn't look like he's going to be utilised though. Both arms are aloft by De Bruyne. It's an outswinger, and it's headed away by Gabriel under pressure. Cole Palmer tries to stop Saka in his tracks, but they get it clear towards Timber, who passes the ball out towards Saka on that far side. Havertz through the middle and Martinelli, but they've lost the ball, and Arteta turns away in frustration in his technical area down in front of us. But Arsenal have got numbers back, and Saliba keeps the ball in play, and now it's with White, and we've got 16 minutes remaining. 16 minutes before a potential penalty shootout here to settle the 101st edition of the traditional curtain raiser in the English game. But Arsenal have given it away again. Now Palmer coming forward for City. De Bruyne just away towards his left-hand side. Here is De Bruyne, plays it in, and it arcs its way in front of Alvarez, and out for a goal kick. And here comes the change, and Trossard will be coming on for Gabriel Martinelli. So you would think like for like, Craig Shakespeare.
Yes, I think so, but he has the ability to unlock defences, he has the ability to get a goal, so hopefully something could change for Arsenal. But you just think of Arsenal's wide players and where they've got the joy down the right-hand side, and if you're talking to wide players, you think you're coming up against Kyle Walker and Akanji, some of the best 1v1 defenders in the league. So in terms of movement, they've got to have a little bit of movement by coming inside, which allows the fullbacks to get over. Because if they're just going to go up against them and play 1v1, well, as I said, they're very, very competent defenders. So in terms of movement, but Trossard might give them a different problem.
Well, it's going to be a double change, in fact, because whilst Craig was talking, Kieran Tierney quickly sprung off the bench, and Jurriën Timber, the £34 million signing from Ajax, he comes off, and Kieran Tierney, who I first saw in the flesh in a Champions League game, Celtic against Manchester City, incidentally, at Celtic Park. What an occasion that was, as he was up against Raheem Sterling that night, and Kieran Tierney, the Scottish international, comes on at left back as that second change made by Mikel Arteta. And we have remaining 14 minutes, and it's still 0-0 as Stones heads the ball back to Ortega. Manchester City, they've won 5 of their 6 competitive penalty shootouts under Pep Guardiola. Might be getting a chance to test themselves again here, unless there's a goal in the next 14 minutes or so, depending on how much, of course, additional time. Ortega. In fact, actually, just looking at it, Havertz, Trossard's gone a little bit more central, and Havertz is a little bit to the left at that stage. keep an eye on that as Foden can't get the ball away. De Bruyne heads it back into the path of Cole Palmer. Palmer enters the penalty area. Oh, what a goal from Cole Palmer! Fine goal, left-footed, curling, gave the goalkeeper no chance. That really was a sublime finish from the young player. And Manchester City, the treble winners from last season, are looking to add to their growing collection of silverware. And if that's the winner, it's certainly a fine goal.
Two things from that one. Kevin De Bruyne keeping the ball alive. Kyle Walker's run in behind Cole Palmer, just dragging the defender away. Kieran Tierney seeing him, just a little move to his left. The left lost the space on the inside. Palmer from right foot to left foot just curled it in that top corner. Keeper was trying his hardest to get there, fully stretched. It's a brilliant finish from the young lad.
It's the first time Arsenal haven't got people back behind the ball. They've got still 3 attackers in Man City's half, and I know in terms of transition Man City moved the ball quick, but what a great finish by the young lad. Best moment of the game so far.
And I think it was a little unfortunate as well for Kieran Tierney, who's just come on that side, the left back. I think he slipped, although he probably wouldn't have got anywhere near Palmer at that stage. But it was a lovely curling finish from Cole Palmer. Only his 5th goal for the club. He did score against Burnley last season in the FA Cup when they trounced Burnley. Burnley fans, I'm sure, will hope that there's a different outcome on Friday night when they kick off the opening game in the Premier League in a few days' time. But Cole Palmer off that trusty left foot of his with a lovely goal.
Yeah, as a player as well, if you've got that kind of finish in your locker, then you just want the inside of the pitch to open up for you. It's one of the easiest finishes for a footballer, to stick it in the top corner like that. If you get that space, then you're always going to take it on. Young lad like him, brilliant finish.
Easy for you, Dion, with your left foot.
I used to do it with me right, never me left. The left foot was standing foot only, Craig.
2 substitutes combining, and mention that record for Kevin De Bruyne with goals and assists at Wembley and against Arsenal. That will add to that particular statistic for the Belgian. Cole Palmer with the curling effort, and Manchester City, who have won their last 8 successive encounters against Arsenal, are looking to increase that stranglehold over them. Arsenal have lost 15 of the previous 16. That's far from sweet in terms of a statistic, but with 11 minutes remaining, Manchester City lead by 1-0, and Cole Palmer with that goal that finally breaks the deadlock. As here he goes again, wriggling away, stumbles back to his feet, up against 2 players in Trossard and Tierney. Tierney clears low along the ground. Havertz lays it off, but he's outside his own penalty area as Arsenal get the ball up towards Declan Rice. Declan Rice stops, then runs away from Alvarez, slips it on the inside, but there was Rodri just to mop up as effectively as he does in the midfield.
No option for Rice at all down the left-hand side. He's trying to get forward. Nobody in the red shirts up there with him. Trossard's the only player. Couldn't find Trossard, and Arsenal have got to do that better. If you do break the lines, then keep the ball, get out, get the back four, whatever it is, and give your mate a hand on the ball.
Eddie Nketiah is going to be coming on. It's going to be the 3rd substitution at the second opportunity for Mikel Arteta. It's Declan Rice who comes off, and Eddie Nketiah comes on. 9 goals that he scored last season. He's got probably about 9 minutes to try and make some sort of an impact regarding normal time, as the treble winners, Manchester City, are leading by 1-0. And just think, by the time that the year of 2023 is out, from the Premier League, the FA Cup and the Champions League, Community Shield, they could have the Super Cup and the Club World Cup in December to add to that growing collection. It could be a year to remember for Manchester City 2023. Incidentally, that Super Cup will be live a week on Wednesday in Athens. Sevilla against Manchester City, live in Athens. I seem to recall your managerial experience. You played Sevilla, didn't you, in the Champions League when you were in charge of Leicester?
We did. We managed to get through. One of the best experiences of my career.
As I did the first. You were behind from the first game, weren't you? The first leg. Was it 2-1?
Yeah, we were behind and managed to overget it. And I think Sami Nasri got sent off at King Power and went on to win the game.
Yeah. Craig Shakespeare and Dion Dublin with us. 8 minutes remaining. Sports Extra has the Netball World Cup final, which is England against Australia. Tight, certainly, after the first quarter. There's a mistake by White, lets in Alvarez. They're looking for offside there. Alvarez continues, coming forward, passes the ball forward towards Foden, and Foden almost made it too. But Ramsdale actually made a very good save, just to divert the ball away from the left-hand post. Otherwise, City would have wrapped this one up.
That's a brilliant save from Ramsdale, I've got to say. I'm expecting Foden to put the ball in the back of the net. He's 8 yards out. He's got the goal at his mercy. All he's got to do is beat the keeper. Couldn't sort his feet out. Ramsdale stood big for a very long time.
I don't think it's a good save. I think it's a bad miss. I think he's got to score that. He's got to score that, and then the game's put to bed.
Yep, it was Foden off his right foot and diverted behind for a corner kick. So under 8 minutes remain of normal time. Manchester City lead Arsenal by a goal to 0. Good save by Ramsdale, because that was a fantastic near post header by Rodri. He got down ever so well, but the reflex save from Ramsdale, that was a good save.
That was a very good save. Low corner, and as you say, his instincts and his reactions were top draw there.
He'd have seen that late, Dion.
Yeah, and it was the ball from Kevin De Bruyne as well. He knew that Rodri was going to make that run to the near post, right in front of any red shirt, and he just got enough on it to get to sort of steer it goalwards, and Ramsdale had to get back quickly. Really good keeping.
Mentioned that World Cup final in Cape Town, and it was 13-13, I think, after the first quarter. What's the latest now? Sarah Orchard.
It's Australia creeping ahead in this second quarter. 2 minutes to play. England 22, Australia 24. And it's the Roses who are just making a few really simple mistakes, particularly in their attack, that's giving the Diamonds possession. Still just under 2 minutes to go until half-time. England 22, Australia 24.
We've got 6 minutes remaining. Commentary of that continues on Sports Extra. The final quarter we plan to take live here on 5 Live. England's women in the World Cup tomorrow morning. Live commentary from 8:30 here on BBC Radio 5 Live. It's also live on BBC One. Trossard midway through the Manchester City half, shrugs off Kyle Walker, passes the ball inside. Partey and Mark, time to bring the ball under control to Ødegaard, quickly under pressure, and they give the ball away through Partey up towards De Bruyne. Nice first touch as he tried to come in between two Arsenal players, but Partey was one of them, and he sees it back towards Ramsdale. Well, he's certainly made a difference since he's come onto the field of play, De Bruyne.
Yeah, he has, and he just wants to look forward. He's always trying to find that pass and that little bit of energy as well. He doesn't know any other way to play, and I think it's made a difference to City. He's got players up the pitch as well, which is good. That's why they're ahead.
We did say, didn't we, that get to 60, 70 minutes and the game opens up. It's made for someone of Kevin De Bruyne's ability to pick the right pass.
And that is certainly how it's panned out here at Wembley Stadium as Ortega clears. It was a desperate late lunge by Nketiah to try and get a block in there on the City number 2 goalkeeper. Foden picks the ball up far side the left. Kevin De Bruyne holding on to the ball and winning a throw for Manchester City, and his efforts are certainly appreciated by the City travelling support, who are going to watch their side pick up more silverware. Although Pep Guardiola was saying ahead of the game that we finished 2 weeks later than Arsenal, we started 2 weeks later, but at the end of the day, it is another trophy. He still called it a final despite all of that, despite it being another game, another piece of the jigsaw as far as the pre-season schedule is concerned. 1-0 they lead through this man, Cole Palmer. Fine curling effort off his left foot. Tierney gets a foot into the challenge, out of play it goes. It's an Arsenal throw, and just over 4 minutes remain of normal time, and Tierney wants to take it quickly, and then it's headed eventually out of play by Stones. Just tried to release Nketiah, as the attendance is 81,145 for this traditional curtain raiser, and the Arsenal supporters still in that east end of Wembley Stadium. Oh, they've got a decent suntan, I'm sure, if they didn't put the sunblock on, because they've had the sun in their eyes throughout the whole day. For an Arsenal team that is looking forward to being back in the Champions League campaign for the first time since 2016-2017, after that excellent campaign that they had last year. Half-time now at Cape Town in the Netball Women's World Cup. Sarah Orchard.
It's England 23, Australia 27. You have to say the goal rate really slowed down in that second quarter. Changes for both sides. It was Fran Williams who came on in the first quarter for England. Sophie Garbin made a big difference for Australia, who edge ahead. They are not 11-time world champions for nothing. England, of course, in their first World Cup final. They still have 30 minutes to get their noses in front. Half-time, England 23, Australia 27.
Thanks, Sarah. Sports Extra for continued commentary of that. Double change being made late on by Mikel Arteta, and it is going to be Fabio Vieira who's going to be coming on, and also the player that Craig Shakespeare was talking about earlier as well, Emil Smith-Rowe, coming on for a late run out, and it was Gabriel and Havertz, the two players who've made way. Dion.
Yeah, I think that should have been done earlier. I think Smith-Rowe's a player that could have maybe unlocked a few passes, a few forward runs. I think he probably deserved another 10-15 minutes more than that, Craig, wouldn't you say?
Sitting up here, yes, but if I was the coach down there, and I've always been told, yeah, it's a difficult one at times, but I agree with you that a player of his talent just deserves that little bit more, and I think it would have been beneficial to Arsenal as well.
Well, limited time for the pair to make any sort of impact for an Arsenal side that still trail by a goal to nil here on BBC Radio 5 Live in the World Service, as Alvarez manages to get away. Tierney quick to close him down towards the corner flag on this near side, helped out by Trossard. Smith-Rowe's also there, and the assistant referee. A little bit of afters there as well between Trossard and Cole Palmer down by the corner flag. The assistant was quick. And in fact, Stuart Atwell will just have a word too, as Arsenal want to actually get the game back underway, just to make sure that it doesn't boil over. It'll just be a friendly word in the ear from Stuart Atwell.
Yeah, I think the ball was stuck in between Trossard's legs, and Palmer was just trying to kick it off him to get a corner. Probably didn't kick the ball.
Well, Ramsdale's going to take the free kick for Arsenal. We've got about 90 seconds of normal time remaining. We'll see how much additional time has been added on for the goal celebration and the substitutions that have been made and the stoppages in the second half, as Saliba plays the ball back to Ramsdale. Alvarez looks to close down the England goalkeeper, who gives it away straight towards De Bruyne. That was very, very loose. De Bruyne, though, was stopped by Partey, who's just dropped back into the centre of defence now that Gabriel has left the field of play, and he saved the day and saved the blushes for Ramsdale. You don't be giving the ball away at that sort of distance to Kevin De Bruyne, that is for sure. 60 seconds remaining. City lead by a goal to nil. Partey. Rodri with the foul. Now again, in the first half, that would have been a yellow card, would it?
Yeah, the game goes back to the word consistency, and that's what infuriates the crowd as well, because in any game, that's a yellow card.
But the referee let it free. I think that's the second offence that Rodri has done for something. He did one similar in the first half of that for pulling back. As Arsenal, they don't actually look like scoring as the ball goes forward now to Partey and back to Tierney.
Yeah, it's the first time we've seen Partey do that as well. Really, use his strength and try and get past the player, and he gets past, and he gets a free kick, but he doesn't get the yellow card for the opponent he deserves. If he'd have done that a little bit more today, Partey, they may have been able to break the lines, but Arsenal have been a little bit lethargic today.
Well, we're about to find out how much added on time there will be. 8 minutes of additional time, which we're now into here at Wembley, as the ball is passed straight out of play by Kieran Tierney, and he promptly apologises. Half-time at the Stadium of Light. Chris Coles.
Against the run of play, but Ipswich have a half-time lead against Sunderland, given to them in first half stoppage time by the former Sunderland loanee Nathan Broadhead, latching onto a Leif Davis volley, and the ball squirmed into the bottom corner. Harsh on Sunderland, they've been good. Joe Bellingham wasting their best chance, couldn't steer a pacey rebound goalwards from 8 yards. Sunderland 0, Ipswich 1.
I know many people who do fancy Ipswich Town in that competitive championship this season, probably to do what Sunderland did last year in order of coming up from League One and look to try and almost go challenge the playoffs and look to try and go straight through. Sunderland, of course, came very, very close. Tony Mowbray did an excellent job last season, but his side behind there by a goal to nil, as in stoppage time here at Wembley Stadium with 7 minutes remaining of the minimum to be added on. It's Nketiah who's forward midway through the City half. He carries that ball out towards that far side, the right. Plays it back now to Ødegaard. Partey is in support, bypasses Partey to Tierney. Now finds Trossard. Trossard, left corner of the penalty area. Smith Rowe, does he shoot from distance? No, he goes square. Partey then passes the ball back towards Tierney. Level with the penalty area. Manchester City have everybody back, and at the minute there's no penetration from Arsenal. As the ball from Saliba is hoisted out into the air, out towards Saka, far side the right. Plays it back, White's forward ball, laid off now to Ødegaard, central area, midway through the City half. Ødegaard and Nketiah's touch to Fabio Vieira, the substitute curls it, central area, now towards Partey, runs forward, edge of the area, plays it out towards Tierney, where's the end product? Tierney with the cross, bounces to Fabio Vieira, rides up his chest on the half volley, lifts it towards the far post, clash of heads there between Thomas Partey, and it must be Kyle Walker, and straight away the ball is put out of play and the physios will be called for. So they had the pressure without really testing Stefan Ortega.
Yeah, I think it goes back to a bit of the how they're going to miss Jesus, and I think he's a massive miss for them because, you know, Arsenal have had some good play, but I think you used the word penetration, and Jesus gives them that. I think he's very instinctive, but also he's got a flair. Sometimes plays off the cuff, which is very hard to mark and to manage if you're the opposition. So I think he'll be a massive miss.
Well, both players thankfully have sat up now. Kyle Walker as Thomas Partey, as they're being tended to. There is an orange stretcher that is making its way around the side of the pitch, but at least both players seem to be okay as the two physios are just having a look at them, and of course this will add on the added on time. Dion Dublin. Yeah,
it was a decent ball to the far post, and Thomas Partey's just trying to get it headed back into a decent area, and Kyle Walker's trying to help it on, and a really strong clash of heads, and the referee, as you would expect, sharp in getting the physios on. They both seem to be sat up, which is good.
So there is a stoppage in play here on BBC Radio 5 Live. Manchester City in these closing stages still leading by a 1-0 against Arsenal, who you think last season they were the pace setters for so long. They won 16 of their opening 19 games to make themselves as the surprise title contenders. In fact, even at the start of April they were still fancied by many, by the bookmakers, as favourites for the title, but then they dropped 15 out of 27 for their last 9 games, whereas Manchester City only dropped 6 points since the start of February. And that's where Pep Guardiola, they always sometimes say, oh, City start slowly, but boy, do they always finish strongly.
Yeah, they just seem to be incredibly consistent when they need to be. Always gets the results over the line when they need to as well. Arsenal just off the pace. Mentioned it earlier, those 3 draws that they had just opened the door, left the door ajar for City, and you can't do that. They'll take the opportunity, and Arsenal lost their momentum.
This is a lengthy stoppage for the two players. Partey's being bandaged up. He's just sat off the field of play at the moment, but the bandage is being wrapped around his forehead. Kyle Walker is also sat up, and in fact also is now getting a bandage applied to his head as well. So a lot of concern, and quite rightly a lot of time and caution being applied by the medical staff for the two players. We had initially 8 minutes of a minimum of added on time, but by my watch now we're already 5 minutes in, and so it's going to be very, very hard to gauge as to how long, at the discretion of the referee Stuart Atwell, will be applied before he sounds his final whistle, where Manchester City lead by a 0-0.
We still have the availability of the concussion subs, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yeah. And also as well, it's a timely reminder that this Community Shield is supporting the Jeff Astle Foundation. Jeff, a West Bromwich Albion legend who died at the age of 59, diagnosed with the early onset of dementia, but the foundation in his name raising awareness about the impacts caused by concussion, and Community Shield today in association with the Jeff Astle Foundation, as both players have come to the side of the pitch. In fact, there's going to be a new shirt required for Kyle Walker. There must be a little bit of blood on the other one, Thomas Partey ready to come back on 2, but again the referee will have to wait for that allotted time, that minimum time of 30 seconds before they can come back onto the field of play after that stoppage. And it remains 1-0 to City as play is back underway. Ortega clears the ball away long. It's a long punt downfield. Alvarez is sniffing it out, and it's scooped up at the front edge of his penalty area by Aaron Ramsdale, who leaves it now short for White. It's got to be now or never, as the stewards just to the left of our commentary box with that royal blue rope are preparing for the trophy lift here at Wembley Stadium. And once again, it is going to be a trophy lifted by the sky blue of Manchester City to add to that treble success of last season, the Premier League, the FA Cup and the Champions League. Unless Nketiah can do something with it here, but he comes under pressure from Akanji, who dispossesses him. Arteta hopping, thought that there should have been a foul. The referee doesn't give it. Partey turns outside the centre circle and passes the ball out far wide to that right hand side to Fabio Vieira. Ødegaard unmarked, back towards Ødegaard, passes the ball to the edge of the area. He was looking towards Trossard, but it was intercepted and cleared by the Manchester City defence, as Arsenal have it once more at the back with Saliba, as now it's with Smith Rowe inside his own half. Here on BBC Radio 5 Live, closing stages, that second half of the World Cup in the netball to come. Commentary continues on Sports Extra for the time being. England against Australia. Don't forget, tomorrow morning at 8:30, live on 5 Live and BBC One, England against Nigeria in the last 16. Cute little back heel that from Trossard towards Smith Rowe. Arteta's on ball boy duties. He senses the urgency, despite it just being the Community Shield. He wanted to try and win this as a curtain raiser. Lay down maybe a potential marker, but Cole Palmer's fine curling effort. 13 minutes from the time is the difference between the two, as Walker heads it away over the head of a leaping Bernardo Silva, headed forward by Partey. Ødegaard, this might be the final throw of the dice for Arsenal as they trail, looking for a late equaliser. Here is Kieran Tierney, now the left back, midway through the City half. His distribution at times, he's been lacking a little bit in terms of his radar, but Smith Rowe has helped win it back. Trossard now helps out Smith Rowe, and again fancy footwork by Trossard. Smith Rowe inside to Partey, threads it through. This is Saka looking for a shooting opportunity, forces Fabio Vieira out wide. He delivers the cross and onto the chest of Ruben Dias, and again just no cutting edge really from Arsenal.
No, we've seen some really good football in the last 15-20 seconds for Arsenal, but that was a chance for me for Saka to take the shot on. He was not too far out, just inside City's box, and I think to myself, just take the shot on. You've made some really good space, and he played it wide. The pass was too long, and the chance had gone. So they're the decisions they have to get right.
By my watch, we've been playing for 9 minutes here at Wembley. Manchester City still lead by 1-0. Here is White. It was a lengthy stoppage for that clash of heads between Walker and Partey. Now it's with Smith Rowe, scoops it out. White is forward. Here he is, collects the pass from Vieira. White wins the corner. Arsenal are finishing with a flourish.
Yeah, they are, and they've got to get this ball into a dangerous area. They've got into some good areas, Arsenal. Just that final pass. The player on the ball is actually waiting for somebody to make a run for them, and it's just not coming the whole of this game for Arsenal.
You always think now, corner, 30 seconds left, overload the box.
On that 6-yard area, it's very, very congested. Arsenal looking for a dramatic equaliser. Corner kick comes in on that right-hand side, headed out at the near post by Rodri. Comes back towards Saka. Now it's an opportunity, a shooting opportunity, takes a deflection, and Arsenal, through Trossard's deflected effort, have salvaged an equaliser in the 11th minute of stoppage time, and we will be going to a penalty shootout. Manchester City denied right to the death by Arsenal. The fans celebrate. The deflection was telling, but it's an equaliser, and it's 1-1.
Yeah, I think it was off Akanji. I think Akanji's just stood, he hasn't moved. He hasn't tried to block it at all, he's stood his ground. Yeah, it's hit the left-hand side of him, it's gone into the left-hand corner. Ortega, the keeper, had already committed to where the ball was going to go, and And he was out of position. There was no way back, Craig. No way back for the keeper.
No, it took a wicked deflection. But as you say, he took the opportunity to shoot, which we were saying about Xhaka earlier, and then got that little bit of luck. And as you can see from the replay, it's wrong-footed the keeper, but it puts them straight back in it for possibly penalties now.
2 deflections, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, I think it was 2 deflections. Keeper had no chance.
And don't tell the Arsenal fans that it's only the Community Shield, because some of the supporters around us here in our commentary box have really enjoyed that moment. So we're at 1-1, and I think 3 of the last 6 of the Community Shields have gone to penalties, and we're going to have a penalty shootout here now on 5 Live, the World Service, and on BBC Sounds, because in the 11th minute of added on time, Trossard credited with the goal, with the equaliser for last year's runners-up, unless there is going to be a sting at the tail at the other end, as Manchester City have a free kick. De Bruyne takes it, drops into the penalty area. It was Diaz who I think threw himself at it, but he was challenged by White, and it came off one of them and into the arms of Ramsdale. Unless Arsenal have designs of going winning it now. We had 8 minutes of added on time. There was that lengthy stoppage, and that's why we're now into the 12th minute. And the drama will continue as the ball is chipped out long by Saliba towards Saka. We're at the discretion of a referee, Stuart Atwell. Little touch round the corner, tried to tickle into the path of Smith Rowe. Arsenal lose the ball, and there is the final whistle, and we will go to a penalty shootout to determine the winners of this year's Community Shield after it's finished. I was going to say after 90 minutes, but it hasn't. It's after nearly 103. 1-1.
What was that about your high school maths teacher being wrong? So we've got a penalty shootout here on 5 Live, Arsenal versus Manchester City. We've got the Netball World Cup final on 5 Sports Extra. Let's check in. Sarah Orchard.
Is England 27, Australia 34. Still 9 minutes of the third quarter to play, but it's the Diamonds, the 11 times world champions, who are really trying to exert themselves. The Roses don't have too many answers at the moment, and they need to find them really fast if they're going to get back into this final. Still a long way to go. England 27, Australia 34.
Well, they came from 8 goals down to beat Australia in the group. Can they come from 7 behind to beat them in the final of the World Cup? We will join commentary there. Once we are done here at Wembley Stadium, we're going to a penalty shootout after Arsenal won, Manchester City won. Dion Dublin, I've got to say, Mikel Arteta celebrated like this was the FA Cup final.
Yeah, he did, yeah, and the whole of the staff and the players were in a massive huddle just on the pitch, right next to the technical area. He wants to win this game. His actions were so animated. He was delighted. A couple of deflections, got lucky, but yeah, need to create more chances, Arsenal.
The fans' reaction as well, Dion, in terms of, we talked about momentum. Momentum's with Arsenal now. Obviously, we're going to a dead ball situation now in terms of penalties, but you can see how much it means to Arsenal. Man City, they'll be gutted in terms of not seeing the game out, especially from the corner situation and then not clearing it, not getting out to the shot. But from Arsenal, a chance to win it.
And it'll be the second penalty shootout of the day on 5 Live, because we brought you the penalty shootout in the Women's World Cup that Sweden beat the USA. If it's half as dramatic as that, it'll be fantastic when a penalty just squeezed over the line to win it for Sweden here at Wembley Stadium. Martin Ødegaard is just wandering hands on hips into the centre circle for a quick chat with the officials. We'll get the coin toss shortly and work out which end this is going to be at. The Manchester City fans away to our right hand side, Arsenal away to the left. I just happened, Craig, by pure fluke to be looking at the clock when those head injuries happened. It was a 4-minute stoppage. So it is right that we actually carried on to 112 minutes. So we've been talking about consistency and the amount of added time. Got that bang on.
Yep, fair play to the referee for that. But again, it's one of the rules that's brought in, and we have to adhere to them. And as players, as coaches, as managers, as fans, we're aware of it. And as you say, it could be some long journeys this year.
Could not find, Dion, 2 more contrasting goals in a game like this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Cole Palmer's was an absolute worldie, top corner. He meant every bit of that. Trossard just took his chance. He had a chance to shoot for goal, and it was a double deflection into Akanji's left thigh, and then it just trickled into the near post. Ortega had no chance at all. He committed to where he thought the ball was going to go, and sometimes that happens. If you don't take the shot on, you never know what's going to happen. So fair play.
Arsenal have won the coin toss, I can tell you that. Martin Ødegaard just pointed away to the left-hand side where the Arsenal fans are, and a little cheer went up for them as they had their eyes peeled watching their captain in the centre circle. So the penalty shootout in the Community Shield is on the way. The Arsenal players arm in arm just off the pitch, those who've been substituted or not involved. Manchester City goalkeeper Stefan Ortega just running into the centre circle now. So let's go back to the World Cup final in Cape Town in the netball. Sarah Orchard.
6 minutes 40 seconds to go in this third quarter. It's England 29, Australia 36, so it's still a 7-goal game. Australia about to step up and try and make it an 8-goal game for England to get back into this. Jiva Mentor vitally back onto the court now for England after she was taken off briefly, playing in her 6th World Cup. Of course, she's going to retire after this tournament. You do feel the Roses need something special to get into this. It's their first final, but at the moment it's all about the diamonds. England 29, Australia 37.
Full commentary of that on 5 Sports Extra here on 5 Live. A penalty shootout to start the new season between Arsenal and Manchester City. Ian.
Well, there are two things to say. Arsenal have been practicing penalties in their pre-season tour of America. And the other thing, we've been talking a lot about the new edicts that are going to be coming on, a lot about conduct and gamesmanship. Goalkeepers, and they've just been pulled together there by the referee Stuart Atwell. You think back to the World Cup, in particular Emi Martinez, the Aston Villa keeper for Argentina. Those sort of like shenanigans, they're not allowed nowadays. You've got to just stay. You're not allowed to kick, delay, and kick the post with your boot. Any like that, that would be a yellow card offence.
And do you ever think we'll get a red card for a keeper in that instance?
Well, that will be interesting.
Very interesting.
Because eventually you would think it might be happening if a keeper's on a yellow card already, and then he does step out of line. Anyway, Arsenal are going to go first. Let's see if they can put what they've been practicing into the tangible rewards of this Community Shield. And it's going to be Martin Ødegaard, the captain, best goal return last season with his 15 goals, who steps forward. The end that they're taking the penalties is away towards our left. Ortega hops on his goal line, all in green. Ødegaard coming forward for Arsenal, waits patiently for the referee's whistle, runs up now, stuttering run up from Ødegaard, left-footed, sends the goalkeeper the wrong way, finds the left-hand end of the net.
Yeah, good penalty, very confident, just slides it into his left, keeper's right, keeper goes to his left, no chance at all. Very confident from the captain.
Kevin De Bruyne is now coming forward. Now in normal time, in a routine game, his record from the penalty spot for Manchester City is converted 7 of 9. Kevin De Bruyne, who making his first appearance in this pre-season since that hamstring injury forced him off and out of the Champions League final against Inter at the end of last season. He's already made a telling contribution with an assist for Cole Palmer's wonderful goal that gave City the lead. He's up against the Arsenal supporters who are waving, trying to put him off, and De Bruyne hits the crossbar. Right-footed, cannons down off the crossbar, and Manchester City have squandered their first kick.
Short run up and obviously sent the keeper the wrong way, but too high, hit the crossbar and advantage Arsenal.
Well, that ball, through the ferocity of the kick, rebounded from that central area of the crossbar and almost rolled to the midway point of the half away towards our left-hand side as Trossard is coming forward. Credited with a goal, he can take his tally in pre-season to 4. He scored 3 when they were out in the States. Little Stuart Atwell will have a word with him as well. I wonder if this Belgium will fare any better than De Bruyne. So it's 1-0 to Arsenal after the opening kicks in this penalty shootout. Live on BBC Radio 5 Live and the World Service and BBC Sounds. Trossard waits. Not the longest of run up for Trossard. He steps forward now, right-footed. Perfect penalty. Low, finds the bottom right-hand corner. Again, Stefan Ortega went the wrong way.
Yeah, just the opposite to his captain, Ødegaard. He puts it the other way. Keeper goes the opposite way too. Very confident from Trossard. Never looked in danger.
Bernardo Silva runs forward for Manchester City. They need to get a penalty on the board after De Bruyne's opening miss. Places the ball down. Again, the Arsenal fans in the sunshine furiously waving. Bernardo Silva does score though. Left-footed, Ramsdale dived away to his left, sent the wrong way. City trail 2-1.
I'm just watching Ramsdale before that and really taking a real interest in his water bottle and wondering if he's got any information on his water bottle, as a lot of keepers do their homework now. But if he did, he got that one wrong, so a great penalty.
Well, we all know about Saka and penalties at Wembley in the white shirt of England, but you can't fault him in the red and white for Arsenal. His record is scored all 4 penalties for Arsenal as he places the ball down in the spot. This shootout live on 5 Live. Again, the biggest of run-ups for Bukayo Saka. Signed the new deal in the summer. Ortega waits on his goal line. He's poised. Saka, well, not too sure. He's rolled it into the net. Left-footed. And again, he didn't seem to strike it that cleanly.
No, he didn't. It was a slightly delayed strike of the ball. He allowed the keeper just that little bit, half a second of movement, and then Saka put it the opposite way the keeper was going. That's confident. He didn't strike it well, but he knew exactly what he was doing.
Rodri picks the ball up. He tucks it under his right arm. He steps forward. It's a purposeful stride from Rodri. Already places the ball down. He wants to get this done and dusted. Rodri now comes forward, right-footed. Ramsdale with a save. And Arsenal lead by 3-1 in the shootout.
Yeah, you'd have to say too close to the goalkeeper, not in the corner, and Ramsdale went the right way. Massive advantage to Arsenal now.
So this to win it for Arsenal. After De Bruyne hit the bar and Ramsdale with a save from Rodri. And the Arsenal supporters, they are getting very, very excited in that end. The celebrations are already beginning as the ball has been picked forward and carried by Fabio Vieira, the substitute, the young Portuguese attacking midfielder, up against Ortega. Vieira to win silverware for Arsenal. Sounds familiar, and that's exactly what he's done. But this time it's Fabio Vieira, left-footed, high into the left-hand corner, and for a 5th successive occasion that they've participated, Arsenal have won the Community Shield, much to the delight of their players and fans. The supporters are banging the windows in front of us. They've beaten Manchester City 4-1 in the shootout.
That's a brilliant penalty as well, I've got to say. What a penalty, top corner. Keeper goes the right way, but no keeper stopping that. 2 keepers are stopping that. It was a very, very apt penalty to win this first game of the season.
Arsenal won't mind. They were desperate to get the trophy. Probably the most exciting bit of the game, the penalties at the end. You'd say Cole Palmer's goal, the little bit of class in the game, the second half. But it was crying out for a bit of excitement, and pleased for the fans. Obviously, in terms of Arsenal winning it, they won't care, they won't mind. Their name will be on the Community Shield, and it's an important start for them.
And bearing in mind that Manchester City have lost their last 3 Shield appearances now, that won't make a jot of difference come May, because when the serious silverware is handed out, we know that Manchester City were the ones leading the way. But as a curtain raiser goes, Arsenal have got some silverware and they've won the shootout. Steve?
And if they do win serious silverware this season, then wow, the celebrations are going to be something else, because red and white shirts just tore onto the pitch when that final penalty went into the back of the net. So we'll have more reaction from this. Don't forget, you got the netball.
Catch me if I fall.